Chapter 1. Cold. The cold and damp air kept stimulating Lin Yuan's body, forcing him to open his eyes. Why is it so dark? Lin Yuan was stunned for a moment. Immediately, he realized something was wrong. He clearly remembered that he was framed, causing his family to be destroyed. Without the ability to take revenge, he was so desperate that he jumped into the sea to commit suicide. But why would he suddenly appear here? And it seemed to be in a cold and damp cave? Wait a minute. Why can't I feel my own body? Lin Yuan was shocked. Ding. Detected that the host's current state is in line with the system's activation settings. Infinite evolution system activating. Ding. Infinite evolution system activating completed. Binding in progress. Ding. Infinite evolution system binding completed. Officially activated. A series of indifferent, emotionless system prompts suddenly sounded in Lin Yuan's mind. Just as Lin Yuan was shocked and had yet to recover, the system prompts sounded again. Ding. Detected that there is a gray mouse approaching within 3 meters. Now releasing the first newbie mission, hunt and devour the gray mouse. Successfully completing the mission will activate the newbie gift package and open the character panel. At the same time, a simple map suddenly appeared in Lin Yuan's mind, as if everything around him appeared in Lin Yuan's mind. At the same time, he also sensed that the gray mouse was not far ahead. Although he did not see it, he knew instinctively. It was also at this moment that Lin Yuan suddenly realized that he was no longer a human, but a snake. A pitch-black snake. Lin Yuan did not know what species it was, but he knew that it was not very strong. He tried to twist his body. Sure enough, the next moment, Lin Yuan quickly slipped out of the cave. Although it was a little crooked at first, he quickly got used to this method of crawling and quickly approached the outside of the cave. Lin Yuan did not know why he was resurrected and turned into a snake, but he knew that he seemed to have accidentally obtained the system. Even though he still didn't know what the system was for, the most important thing right now was to complete the system mission. Only then would he have the qualifications to explore the system further. From there, he would be able to determine if there was a need for him to persevere, and if there was a possibility of revenge. That's right, it was the thought of revenge that prompted Lin Yuan to crawl out. Lin Yuan's speed was very fast and silent. He quickly crawled out of the cave. Outside the cave was a lush primitive forest. Even the weeds were half the height of a person. At this time, Lin Yuan was crawling in the grass, so he didn't attract any attention at all. After crawling out of the cave, the location of the gray rat became clearer. Soon, Lin Yuan found a gray rat that was 3 fingers thick and half a foot long in the weeds. The rat was crouching on the ground and eating grass, completely unaware of the approaching danger. Seeing this scene, Lin Yuan couldn't help but hold his breath, even though he didn't have the ability to do so at this moment. At this time, if one looked from the sky, they would be able to see that a black snake that was only 2 feet long was crawling out of a cave and quietly approaching a small gray rat. Perhaps because it was about to attack, the black snake's upper body had already unknowingly arched, ready to shoot out at any time. The next moment, a black shadow flashed. The black snake suddenly rushed out and bit at the black rat. This movement finally alarmed the gray rat. When it raised its head and saw the black snake approaching, it was so frightened that it screamed and hurriedly hid to the side. However, whether it was to complete the system mission or out of instinct, Lin Yuan directly moved his tail and forcefully whipped it over, instantly binding the gray rat tightly. Time passed slowly. Just as Lin Yuan was feeling sore all over, the gray rat that was bound by him finally stopped struggling and stopped breathing. At this time, Lin Yuan instantly let go and crouched on the side, staring at the gray rat with wide eyes. Although the hunting just now seemed to be very easy, when he thought of swallowing this thing, he still felt a little uncomfortable. However, the hunger in his stomach and the thoughts in his heart finally defeated his psychological reaction. Lin Yuan slowly walked forward and once again wrapped around the gray rat, opened his mouth and bit it. Just as Lin Yuan thought that he was going to swallow the gray rat whole, he suddenly noticed that the gray rat's entire body in front of him began to rapidly turn into a green light, directly entering his mouth and disappearing. At the same time, the system notification sounded. Ding. Congratulations to the host for hunting and swallowing a gray rat. You are rewarded with a system gift pack and have successfully activated the system panel. The host can check all his own information in the system panel. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully swallowing a small gray rat. You have gained experience point *0. As the system notification sounded, a translucent system panel appeared in front of Lin Yuan. Host, Lin Yuan status, ordinary black snake, evolvable, realm, 0 out of 10 talent. Identify the enemy's location by smell speed, 0. 2 defense, 0. 1 attack, 0. 3 assignable attribute points, 0. 1 martial arts, no realm, unable to activate. Viewable package, novice gift pack *1, close/open. Lin Yuan's gaze looked down bit by bit. When he saw the status clearly, he finally recognized the reality. He had indeed become a snake. Moreover, it was a snake of the lowest level. Wait, what is this realm? What is this evolvable? Does it mean that I can still evolve like Pikachu? Although this example was somewhat inappropriate, Lin Yuan subconsciously thought so. The realm is determined according to the host's strength. For example, demonic beasts can be divided into levels 1 to 10. The host is currently only an ordinary small snake, not even a level 1 demonic beast, so the realm is 0. The realm is the host's current state and will be determined according to the host's evolved state. As long as the host can continue to swallow other species and obtain the essence of life, the host can continue to evolve. If the host can cultivate to level 10, there will be a chance to achieve atavism. Atavism? Lin Yuan was stunned, then his eyes widened. Rumor has it that snakes can cultivate to become dragons. Could it be that after atavism, I can also become a dragon? This time, Lin Yuan could not remain calm. Dragon? That was an existence that could summon the wind and rain, ride the clouds and mist, and even be worshipped by countless people. If he could become a dragon, perhaps he could avenge himself and his family. Thinking of this, Lin Yuan's heart instantly burned with passion. However, just as he was burning with passion, the system poured a basin of cold water over him. Ding. Detected that a level 1 demonic beast is rapidly approaching. The host should escape as soon as possible. Chapter 2. Hearing the system notification, Lin Yuan's heart sank. He was just an ordinary black snake. How could he be a match for a level 1 demonic beast? Without thinking, Lin Yuan rushed into the cave. Right now, this cave was the only place that could give him a sense of security. Luckily, the system notification was in advance. Lin Yuan's reaction was fast enough. He easily rushed into the cave and hid. Lin Yuan didn't even dare to check the cave entrance. He stayed in the cave and continued to explore the system. Now that he had become a snake in the wilderness, he didn't even know what kind of world this was. If he wanted to survive, he could only rely on the system. Thinking that he hadn't checked the newbie gift bag, Lin Yuan hurriedly said, "System, open the newbie gift bag for me." Ding. The newbie gift bag has been successfully opened. Obtained 1 assignable attribute point. Obtained basic map scanning ability X1. Obtained martial art, golden body secrets X1. Host, Lin Yuan status, ordinary black snake, can evolve, realm, 0/10 talent. Identify enemy's location based on smell speed, 0. 2 defense, 0. 1 attack, 0. 3 assignable attribute points, 1 martial art, golden body secrets, no realm, unable to open. However, Lin Yuan seemed to understand the allocation of experience points. He wasn't in a hurry. Instead, the map scanning ability made Lin Yuan's heart beat faster. System, scan the map for me now. Ding. Scanning current map. Ding. Map scanning completed. Loading. Ding. Loading completed. Almost at the same time, Lin Yuan's mind suddenly had all the information within a few hundred miles of this map. It was also the first time that Lin Yuan finally figured out what kind of environment he was in. The place he was in was actually a huge mountain range called the Demonic Beast Forest. Within a few hundred miles, there were endless mountain ranges. There were countless rare treasures hidden within. Of course, There were also various wild beasts and even demonic beasts. Snakes, insects, rats, and ants like Lin Yuan were even more numerous. As for the other information, the map couldn't scan, but it was no longer important. At least Lin Yuan could confirm that this was definitely not the Earth of his previous life. After studying the map, Lin Yuan turned his attention to the martial art, golden body scripture. Unfortunately, no matter how Lin Yuan clicked on it, there was always a prompt. Host's realm is insufficient, unable to practice. He had no choice but to give up and focus on the attribute points that could be allocated. In the beginning, he had killed a gray rat and obtained 0.1 attribute points. Just now, he had opened the newbie gift pack and obtained another 1 attribute point. Now, the number of attribute points that could be allocated had reached 1. Taking the environment into consideration, Lin Yuan did not hesitate to add 0.8 of his attribute points to his speed and the remaining 0.3 to his attack. As for defense, he was just a little black snake at the moment. If anything were to grab him, he would be dead. It didn't matter if he added a bit of defense. At this moment, Lin Yuan's system panel refreshed again. Host, Lin Yuan status, normal black snake, evolvable, realm, 0/10 talent. Identify the enemy's location by smell speed, 1 defense, 0.1 attack, 0.6 assignable attribute points, 0 martial art, golden body scripture, no realm, unable to activate. After testing it out, Lin Yuan realized that his speed was indeed 5 times faster than before. His current speed could be described as fast as lightning. Of course, this was in comparison to his previous speed. Just as Lin Yuan was getting excited, a rustling sound suddenly rang out. Following that, it stopped at the entrance of the cave. Inside the cave, Lin Yuan was shocked and his expression changed. How could he forget that there was a level 1 demonic beast outside? When he was testing out his speed just now, he must have been noticed by that thing outside. Lin Yuan's heartstrings were taut and he didn't dare to make any movements for fear that he would disturb the thing outside. The outside also seemed to have quietened down. Just as Lin Yuan thought that he could get away with it, a violent crashing sound came from the entrance of the cave. Something is digging the cave entrance. Lin Yuan's heart was beating wildly. He knew that something had sensed his existence and was digging to catch him. It wasn't easy to activate the system and revive himself. He didn't want to die for no reason. Without any hesitation, Lin Yuan hurriedly turned his head and rushed towards another tunnel in the cave. Slip away, slip away. The digging speed outside was very fast, but Lin Yuan's speed was even faster. In a blink of an eye, he had slipped out from another tunnel and very quickly appeared at another patch of grass. From afar, he could still hear the rustling sounds of digging. Clearly, the cave entrance wasn't far from that location. Lin Yuan didn't dare to see what was digging his nest and didn't dare to stay here any longer. Like a wisp of smoke, he quickly crawled forward through the grass. While crawling, he was constantly checking the system's notifications to confirm if there was any danger ahead. Ding! Detected a level 1 demonic beast approaching 200 meters ahead. Advising host to avoid it as soon as possible. Swish! Without any hesitation, Lin Yuan ran in another direction. Ding! Detected a level 1 demonic beast approaching 150 meters ahead. Advising host to avoid it as soon as possible. Lin Yuan changed direction again. But he was already cursing wildly in his heart. What kind of broken place was this? How could there be so many demonic beasts? At this moment, he could only tremble in fear in the midst of these demonic beasts. A strong sense of danger urged him to keep running. Ding! Detected a gecko 50 meters ahead. Lin Yuan almost subconsciously turned and ran. But just as he turned his head, he was stunned. Then his eyes instantly lit up. It wasn't easy to come across a normal bug. He wouldn't let it go. Following the system's notification, he quickly moved over. Very quickly, Lin Yuan found a big gecko lying at the bottom of a tree trunk in front of him. It seemed to be lazily basking in the sun. This thing was at least a foot long. It was almost half the size of Lin Yuan. Its body was covered in spots. Looking at it, Lin Yuan felt a little apprehensive. But thinking of the surrounding environment, If he didn't quickly obtain attribute points to evolve and level up, he might die. Gritting his teeth, Lin Yuan quickly swam over. At this moment, the big gecko also sensed danger approaching. It was about to turn and climb up the tree. But its speed was too slow. And Lin Yuan's speed was already comparable to a level 1 demonic beast. He easily caught up with it. Without any hesitation, Lin Yuan directly wrapped around it and used the same trick again. Perhaps because of the increase in his attack power, this time, killing this obviously bigger gecko was actually easier. He only needed to tighten his grip for a moment and this gecko was directly dead. Opening his mouth, activating the system. The next moment, this huge gecko began to dissipate at a speed visible to the naked eye. It turned into a green light and was swallowed into Lin Yuan's mouth. A feeling of fullness came instantly. Following that, Lin Yuan felt that his body seemed to be warm. His snake tail seemed to be a little itchy, as if it was about to grow a tail. More importantly, following the system's notification, he had an additional 0.1 attribute points to distribute. However, before Lin Yuan could rejoice, the system's warning sounded again. Ding! System notification, 300 meters away, a level 1 demonic beast is rapidly approaching. Ding! System notification, 420 meters away, a level 1 demonic beast is rapidly approaching. Ding! System notification, 510 meters away, a level 2 demonic beast is rapidly approaching. Chapter 3. It was a pity that Lin Yuan's forehead didn't have any cold sweat, otherwise he would be drenched in sweat. Trying to run. It was too late. And there was a level 2 demonic beast among them. With his speed, there was no way he could outrun a level 2 demonic beast. What to do? What should he do now? Lin Yuan was anxious as he watched the demonic beasts on the system map getting closer and closer. With nowhere to run, Lin Yuan finally gritted his teeth and climbed up the tree behind him. Although his climbing speed was slightly slower, he still managed to reach the top of the tree before the demonic beasts arrived. Hiding in the dense leaves, he subconsciously held his breath and carefully observed his surroundings. Very quickly, 3 demonic beasts ran over from 3 directions. These were 3 completely different demonic beasts. One of them was a colorful snake that was as thick as an arm. Another one had a long nose that looked like a pangolin. The last one was a demonic beast that looked like a civet cat. These 3 fellows very quickly collided with each other. Following that, the civet cat's gaze indeed landed on the other 2 demonic beasts, staring intently at them. As for the other 2 demonic beasts, their bodies stiffened. The flower snake arched its body and stared intently at the civet cat, as though it was facing a formidable enemy. The pangolin slowly retreated, as though it wanted to escape. Just this scene alone made Lin Yuan understand that this civet cat must be that level 2 demonic beast. Otherwise, the other 2 wouldn't be so afraid. The reason why he dared to climb up the tree to hide was because he was gambling. He bet that when these 3 demonic beasts met, they would fight each other. There was no reason for these 3 fellows to stare at him and not have any ideas on each other, right? The facts proved that Lin Yuan's gamble was correct. Lin Yuan carefully lay on the tree crown, trying his best not to make any movements, but his gaze was fixed below. Below, the civet cat had already walked towards the flower snake. From its arched back, it was clearly prepared to attack at any time. Finally, as the pangolin slowly retreated, the civet cat launched its attack. The civet cat's body was like an afterimage as it rapidly closed in on the flower snake. Stretching out its claws, it slapped down fiercely. The flower snake's speed wasn't slow either. The snake raised its head and continuously attempted to attack the civet cat's claws. Unfortunately, the raccoon's speed was too fast. The snake was no match for the raccoon at all. After observing for a moment, Lin Yuan was certain that the viper was definitely going to die. It was obviously impossible to wait for both sides to suffer. Lin Yuan could only hurry and find a way out. After devouring a millipede, he had 0.1 more attribute points to allocate. Lin Yuan did not hesitate to add it to his speed. If this hadn't happened, he would have definitely increased his attack power. But now, facing a powerful enemy, Even if his speed was slightly faster, it would still be good. After adding the attribute points and confirming that there was nothing wrong with his body, Lin Yuan looked down at the tree again. At this moment, the civet cat was already entangled with the flower snake. The civet cat's mouth bit down on the flower snake's 7 inches, while the long body of the flower snake was tightly wrapped around the civet cat's body. However, Lin Yuan knew that the flower snake had already stopped breathing, while the civet cat was fine. As long as it struggled a little, it would run out. Mutual destruction? That was impossible. As expected, I shouldn't have taken any chances. Lin Yuan thought silently in his heart. At the same time, he began to look around the treetop, trying to find a way out. Ding! The system has detected that a level 1 demonic beast is approaching from 300 meters away. Again? Lin Yuan was stunned. He hurriedly put away his restless thoughts and continued to lie dormant, as the system notified him that the other party was approaching. Finally, Lin Yuan saw the demonic beast's true appearance that was rapidly approaching. It was an extremely fast yellow fox. It ran to a nearby bush and hid, secretly looking in the direction of the civet cat. When it discovered that the civet cat was entangled by the flower snake, it did not hesitate. It turned into a yellow shadow and quickly rushed towards the civet cat. This thing was quite decisive. It even dared to attack a level 2 demonic beast. As the fox continued to approach, the noise it made alarmed the civet cat. The civet cat let go of the snake's head and raised its head to look at the rapidly approaching fox. Meow. A sharp, threatening roar came from the civet cat's mouth. The civet cat's entire body arched, wanting to quickly get rid of the flower snake's entanglement. However, at this moment, the flower snake was already dead. However, the snake's body was completely dependent on its instincts to wrap around the civet cat's body. It actually did not let the civet cat break free. By the time it wanted to break free, it was already too late. That yellow fox had already rushed in front of it. It suddenly jumped up and pounced towards the civet cat. In midair, it opened its long and narrow mouth and bit towards the civet cat's neck. Meow, meow, meow. Urgent and sharp cat's meows rang out continuously. Lin Yuan looked down in shock. He did not expect that he would really be bitten by that fox. At this moment, that fox was biting the civet cat's neck tightly while the civet cat's body was entangled by the flower snake. At this moment, its body was bound by the flower snake and it was unable to make any attacking movements. Otherwise, how could it be bitten by a level 1 fox? The civet cat struggled with all its might, trying to break free from the flower snake's entanglement. That fox also knew that this was a rare opportunity. After biting, it did not let go. Instead, it used its front claws to continuously slap the civet cat's forehead, wanting to slap it to death. Not only that, it also started to tear at the wound. Lin Yuan could already see that a large amount of blood had started to flow out from the civet cat's neck. Obviously, this bite was definitely not light. The more serious the injury, the more intense the civet cat's struggle. Finally, after a moment of struggle, the civet cat broke free from the flower snake on its body. It suddenly jumped out and slapped the fox's head. Bang! A muffled sound was heard and the fox's body flew out. However, a few meters away, the fox flipped over and quickly got up. Its body suddenly lay on the ground and approached the civet cat again. Obviously, this fellow did not intend to give up. The civet cat's blood seemed to have been stimulated as its fur stood on end. It also bent its body slightly and stared at the fox. Finally, the fox pounced over again. The civet cat screamed and also pounced over. The two of them collided in midair and quickly bit each other. It was really fur flying everywhere and roars were everywhere. This terrifying commotion made Lin Yuan feel a chill all over his body. He secretly sighed that it was lucky that he had escaped quickly. Otherwise, the one who would be dead now would be him. His gaze continued to stare. The commotion from the battle below gradually quieted down. After all, the fox's level was low and was not a match for the civet cat. At this moment, it had already stopped breathing and was in the civet cat's mouth. But the civet cat was not much better. Before the fox died, it bit and scratched its body. At this moment, The civet cat was already dripping with blood and its breath was very weak. But it was still desperately trying to drag the fox to the bushes at the side to hide. Seeing this scene, Lin Yuan's breathing suddenly became hurried. At this moment, there were no other demon beasts around. This civet cat was also seriously injured and looked like it was about to die. Then, should he make a move? If he succeeded, he would directly walk towards meteoric success. Once he lost, he might say goodbye to this world. Lin Yuan was conflicted. But in the end, seeing the civet cat hiding in the bushes with a trail of blood, Lin Yuan finally made up his mind. The snake slid down the tree silently and approached the civet cat's location quietly. Chapter 4. The civet cat seemed to be seriously injured. It did not even have the strength to move the dead fox too far away. It only dragged the fox's corpse to the bottom of a tree hole at the side, wanting to hide it in the tree hole. At this moment, Lin Yuan had already blended into the weeds behind it. His snake head was raised as he watched this scene silently, constantly making judgments in his heart. Finally, just as the civet cat's back was facing Lin Yuan and was about to push the fox into the tree hole, Lin Yuan moved. His snake tail exerted strength and his body instantly borrowed the force of the weeds to attack the civet cat fiercely. Swoosh! Like an arrow leaving the bow. Lin Yuan arrived very easily and successfully landed on the civet cat's back. Without any hesitation, Lin Yuan hurriedly curled up his body and his long snake body began to wrap around the civet cat's body. Meow. The sharp and weak civet cat's cry was instantly released. The civet cat's entire body instantly jumped up from the ground. Unfortunately, Lin Yuan was wrapped around his body and he could not escape in the end. Landing on the ground, he suddenly turned his head and wanted to bite Lin Yuan who was on his body. Unfortunately, there was no way to bite him at all. Helpless, he could only continue to struggle and jump. At the same time, his front claws began to slap and scratch on his body, trying to pull Lin Yuan off. Lin Yuan was really caught and there were even a few bloody marks on his long snake body. There was already a risk of his stomach being cut open. However, Lin Yuan did not dare to let go now. Once he let go, not to mention the meat in his mouth, he was afraid that he would lose his life here too. He tightened his body even more desperately. At the same time, he opened his mouth and climbed up the civet cat's back, biting fiercely on the civet cat's neck. The mournful and sharp roar and struggle continued for an unknown period of time. Lin Yuan only knew that just as he was about to be unable to hold on, the civet cat's struggling finally gradually became smaller and finally collapsed on the ground, completely motionless. At this moment, the lower half of Lin Yuan's snake body was already riddled with injuries. Even large pieces of snake scales had been peeled off. Obviously, he was not lightly injured. However, Lin Yuan did not care about this. The surprise in his heart was even greater. The civet cat was dead. With the body of an ordinary little snake, he was actually able to kill a second-grade demonic beast. Wasn't this luck a little too good? Before he could continue sighing, the weakness that came from his body gave Lin Yuan a strong sense of danger. Then, without hesitation, he opened his mouth and bit the civet cat's neck. At the same time, the unlimited evolution system was activated. The next moment, the huge civet cat's body slowly turned into a green and disappeared into Lin Yuan's mouth. A warm feeling enveloped his entire body. Immediately afterward, Lin Yuan was shocked to find that the injured half of his snake body was quickly recovering. The snake scales that had fallen off grew back and the snake body that was torn apart by the civet cat was repaired again. In just a short moment, the seemingly fatal injury had actually disappeared. Lin Yuan had returned to his peak condition. Not only was his status restored, but Lin Yuan also discovered that after devouring the civet cat, the system had directly rewarded him with an assignable attribute point. One must know that previously when he had painstakingly killed a gecko, he had only obtained 0.1 attribute point. Now that he had obtained 10 times the amount, how could Lin Yuan not be happy? Even more happy things had yet to come. Without bothering to check the attribute points, Lin Yuan hurriedly twisted his snake body and crawled into the tree hole, biting the fox's body. The same scene reappeared. The fox's body had disappeared, but it had brought about 0.5 attribute point for Lin Yuan. There's still a colorful snake. Lin Yuan's snake mouth cracked into a smile, shaking his head and wagging his tail as he hurried towards the colorful snake's location. The colorful snake's corpse was lying quietly on the ground. Lin Yuan did not hold back and went up to bite it. Another 0.5 attribute point for him to distribute. After calculating, this vote had allowed Lin Yuan to obtain 2 attribute points for him to distribute. It was equivalent to killing 20 geckos. Although the process was very dangerous, the result was very gratifying. After the harvest, it was naturally time to digest it. Lin Yuan looked around and finally chose the big tree that he had been hiding in previously. He quickly climbed up and hid in the dense foliage again. After ensuring that there were no clues from below, Lin Yuan opened the system panel with peace of mind and happily added the attribute points. Looking at the 2 attribute points that could be distributed, Lin Yuan was really happy for quite a while. After thinking seriously for a moment, Lin Yuan added 0.4 of it to attack. Another 0.9 was added to defense, and the remaining 0.7 was added to speed. At this time, Lin Yuan's information had changed again. Host, Lin Yuan status, Big Black Snake, Evolvable, Realm, 1/10 talent. Identify the enemy's location based on smell speed, 1, 7 defense, 1 attack, 1 assignable attribute points, 0 martial arts, golden body secrets. Almost at the same time that Lin Yuan finished adding the attribute points, a warm feeling suddenly enveloped Lin Yuan's entire body. Immediately after, Lin Yuan felt that his body seemed to be rapidly growing. In a short time, it grew from the previous 2 feet to nearly 5 feet before stopping. Realm actually directly reached level 1. It seems that as long as my speed and defense reach 1 point and above, I will be qualified to become a level 1 monster. If it reaches 2 points and above, doesn't that mean I will become a level 2 monster? Lin Yuan's eyes were filled with joy. It seemed that increasing to level 10 and reaching the level of atavism was not very difficult. More importantly, at this moment, Lin Yuan felt that his snake body was vigorous and powerful. If he were to encounter a situation like when he attacked the civet cat, he would definitely not be so passive again. Thinking about this in his heart, Lin Yuan's gaze returned to the martial arts. Previously, because there was no realm, the martial arts golden body secrets had been gray and could not be clicked. But now, the golden body secrets had been lit up. Did this mean that he could already practice it? He tried to click on it with his mind. As expected, success. The next moment, Lin Yuan felt his vision blur, and when he reappeared, he was already in a mysterious space. This was a world covered by dark clouds. Above his head, there were dense dark clouds, and from time to time, large amounts of lightning slanted down. On the ground, there were large black stones, and in the middle of these stones, there was a huge thunder pool. In the thunder pool, thunder rumbled, lightning flashed, and thunder roared. From time to time, there would be crackling sounds, causing people to tremble uncontrollably. At the edge of the thunder pool, there was a huge sword peak, which was particularly eye-catching. As expected, Lin Yuan's gaze could not help but fall on it. He saw that on top of the sword peak, which seemed to have been deliberately carved out by knives and axes, there were 3 huge words engraved, Golden Body Secrets. Simple and clear. At the bottom of the huge handwriting, there were also many small words. It was the content of the Golden Body Secrets. When Lin Yuan's gaze fell on it, a small snake suddenly appeared. That was a small snake of unknown species, but it could be seen that it was cultivating the Golden Body Secrets. As it cultivated, it became sharper. It became a python. It became a dragon. Finally, it became a dragon. This was not only a cultivation method for cultivating the physical body, but it also seemed to be able to transform the physical body after it reached the peak. Seeing this, Lin Yuan believed it. Perhaps, this system could really bring him back to his ancestors. Lin Yuan could not help but feel excited. He widened his eyes and carefully looked at the cultivation method of the Golden Body Secrets. After looking at it, Lin Yuan realized that the Golden Body Secrets was a foolproof cultivation method. As long as there was enough energy, One could cultivate the golden body secrets and refine the energy into the physical body, increasing the strength of the physical body. By refining it layer by layer, after reaching the peak, one would achieve the effect of being invulnerable to swords and spears, or even fire and water. Although it looked very simple, the effects were extremely pleasing. At least, Lin Yuan was moved. My new book needs the protection of all big shots. Please collect it, please review it. Chapter 5. His mind sank into his body, trying to feel the aura in his body. Sure enough, Lin Yuan felt a strand of aura in his body that was only the size of a strand of hair. After trying several times, he was barely able to control this strand of aura and began to circulate it according to the golden body secrets. As the golden body secrets circulated, Lin Yuan felt a warm feeling in his body. However, before Lin Yuan could carefully feel it, this aura suddenly disappeared. Lin Yuan was stunned and quickly found the problem. The strand of aura in his body had disappeared. In such a short time, it was actually completely swallowed by his body. A sense of hunger instantly came. Lin Yuan was suddenly depressed. He had just swallowed 3 demonic beasts, and he was hungry so quickly. Slightly distracted, Lin Yuan's consciousness suddenly withdrew from this space. When he opened his eyes again, he had already returned to the top of the tree. However, what made Lin Yuan surprised was that, previously, when he was checking the martial arts, the sun was clearly setting in the west. How come the sun had risen again? Could it be that in such a short time, a night had actually passed? Lin Yuan was shocked. He did not know what the space where the technique was, but it was definitely not something that ordinary people could come into contact with. Rumble, the sense of hunger coming from his body made Lin Yuan have to give up on continuing to investigate. Instead, he began to think about what he should use to fill his stomach. He had just stepped into the threshold of cultivation and was starved to death. That would be a real injustice. Looking around, a night had passed, and there were no dangerous situations in the vicinity. Even until now, there were no traces of demonic beasts or other wild beasts. This made Lin Yuan's idea of hunting nearby go up in smoke. After a slight hesitation, he finally quickly slid down the tree trunk. Facing the sun, he quickly slipped out under the cover of the grass. If one looked carefully, they would find that Lin Yuan's body had grown to more than 5 feet. Moreover, there was an extremely faint golden line on his back. If not for the reflection of the sun, it might not be seen at all. Wandering in the demonic beast forest. After crawling for a few hundred meters, Lin Yuan finally found a new target. It was a red-eyed gray rabbit. It was 2 feet tall, and it was lying in a bush, gnawing on the grass. However, even if it was only a gray rabbit, Lin Yuan still did not dare to let down his guard in the slightest. Because, according to the system notification, this gray rabbit was a genuine first-grade demonic beast. Lin Yuan lay dormant and slowly approached the gray rabbit. However, when Lin Yuan was about 3 meters away from the gray rabbit suddenly raised its head and looked around. Then he suddenly jumped into the distance. After a few jumps, he disappeared without a trace. F***, my breakfast? Lin Yuan screamed in his heart. He wanted to cry but had no tears. Just a little bit more and he would have been able to complete his sneak attack. How did this thing discover me? Lin Yuan reflected in his heart. But soon he realized that it wasn't his problem. This was because the system notification rang out again. Ding! 2 level 1 monsters are rapidly approaching from 1,000 meters away. 2 monsters? Lin Yuan was stunned for a moment. This was the first time he heard the system call things monsters. Not knowing the origin of the other party, Lin Yuan did not dare to be careless. He hurriedly climbed up the nearest tree and hid in the leaves again. Enough vision! As the 2 monsters gradually approached, Lin Yuan's eyes widened. He finally understood what the monsters the system was talking about. There were actually 2 people. 2 living people dressed in ancient costumes. To be honest, after coming to this world, this was the first time Lin Yuan saw living people. He was very excited and almost couldn't resist rushing out to greet them. Luckily, Lin Yuan knew that if he rushed out in his current state, there was an 80% chance that he would be roasted and eaten by the other party. Thus, he controlled himself and continued to observe the other party. This was the first time he met people from this world. Naturally, he had to observe carefully. It was a young man and a young woman. The two of them seemed to have just run out from the depths of the demonic beast forest. Both of them had some injuries on their bodies, but the young man's injuries were obviously lighter. As the two of them walked, they were vigilant of their surroundings. Finally, when they reached the tree where Lin Yuan was, the young man couldn't help but gasp for breath. "Cousin, let's rest here first. This is already the periphery of the demonic beast forest. The demonic beasts inside shouldn't chase us out. We're barely safe." "I'm okay." The cousin nodded and sat down with her back against the tree. However, at this moment, a sudden change occurred. The moment the woman let down her guard, the cousin suddenly reached out and pointed at the woman's body. The woman's body stiffened and instantly froze on the spot. She couldn't move at all. "Cousin, what are you doing? Why did you seal my acupuncture point?" The woman's panicked voice sounded. She wanted to struggle, but it was too late. When the young man saw that the woman couldn't move, he immediately laughed. "Cousin, you should know that I've been coveting you for a long time. Moreover, that 100-year-old sage ginseng is only enough for one person to break through to the next level. There are two of us. You're quite favored by the family head. If we bring you back, the sage ginseng will definitely be used on you. Therefore, I had no choice." "You don't mess around. If you want the sage ginseng, just take it. As long as you let me go, I promise I'll let bygones be bygones." The cousin panicked and said hurriedly, "Unfortunately, it's too late. Now, do you think I'll let you go?" The young man laughed and stretched out his hand to grab the clothes in front of the woman's body. *CK. This is a beast in human clothing. Not only does he want to kill me and steal my treasure, but he also wants to take my body." Lin Yuan cursed angrily in his heart. He didn't expect that the first person he saw in this world would be such a disgusting thing. Chapter 6. Ding. System notification. Mission. Obtain the 100-year-old sage ginseng from the other party and swallow it. If the mission is completed, you will receive 0.5 attribute points. If the mission is failed, the host will be punished once. The system notification suddenly sounded. "Snatch the 100-year-old sage ginseng from the other party? Does that thing have any great nourishment for me?" Lin Yuan was stunned for a moment. Just now, although he was unhappy, he did not think of saving the other party directly. After all, he did not know the two people below. But now, the system notification suddenly sounded, and he had to take it seriously. The system would never shoot without a target. Moreover, there was still 0.5 attribute points to be distributed after completing the mission. This was enough for Lin Yuan to take it seriously. Blinking his snake eyes, Lin Yuan's head poked out from the leaves and looked at the two people below. His mind was racing, and he quickly thought of a countermeasure. Rip! The sound of clothes being torn suddenly sounded. Lin Yuan's gaze fell and found that the man could not wait to tear the woman's outer clothes, revealing a set of underwear underneath. A large piece of snow-white skin was exposed at any time. "Hee cousin, your figure is really good. Today, I finally got lucky. Don't worry, before you die, I will let you enjoy the wonderful feeling between a man and a woman." The man rubbed his hands and laughed coldly. Then, he stood up and began to take off his clothes. "Damn, this is a pervert." Lin Yuan cursed in his heart, and his gaze fell on the woman's body. Although the woman was beautiful, she had never experienced such a thing. At this moment, she was already scared out of her wits, but she could not do anything. She could only watch as her boyfriend revealed his bestial nature. Lin Yuan originally wanted to wait for the man to relax his vigilance and then attack him again. However, when he saw the woman's tear-stained face, his heart softened. Who asked him to be a human in his previous life? He could not be so cold-hearted. Since he had already made up his mind, Lin Yuan did not hesitate and quickly climbed up the tree. Even if Lin Yuan's body was more than 5 feet tall, he still climbed up silently. The two people below did not notice at all. Finally, when the man below had already removed the clothes on his upper body and was about to pounce on the woman with a sinister smile, Lin Yuan finally climbed to the top of the two people's heads. Without the slightest hesitation, Lin Yuan's snake-like body suddenly jumped down from the tree and landed straight on the cousin. At this moment, his cousin's entire body was focused on the beautiful woman in front of him. How could he notice the danger above his head? It wasn't until Lin Yuan landed directly on his body that he was startled. He immediately slapped him. What the hell? Lin Yuan didn't care about this. Almost at the moment it fell, it instinctively opened its mouth and bit down. He instantly bit down, and his snake instincts made him move. He directly coiled around his cousin's neck and quickly tightened. After all, Lin Yuan was already a Class 1 demonic beast. Not only was his speed fast, but his attack power was also not small. The instant he tightened his grip, his cousin's face flushed red. In his shock, he hurriedly reached out to grab Lin Yuan's neck and pulled him outside. Lin Yuan's strength was ultimately too weak. After struggling for a while, he was still thrown out by his cousin and landed in a patch of grass. However, Lin Yuan didn't leave immediately. Instead, he raised his snake-like head and stared at his cousin. At this moment, that cousin's face was filled with lingering fear. His neck was already red from being strangled, and there was even a wound on his arm. That was from Lin Yuan's bite when he landed. Damned beast, you dare to attack me? I'll roast you right now. In his shock and anger, the cousin cursed and rushed towards Lin Yuan, wanting to grab Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan naturally wouldn't allow himself to be captured without a fight. He quickly turned his body and dodged towards the grass at the side. Lin Yuan's speed was far from ordinary demonic beasts. With his full strength, he seemed to have turned into a black shadow and instantly disappeared into the grass. That man wanted to chase, but he couldn't see Lin Yuan anymore. Damned beast! The man cursed angrily and kept hitting the grass around him. However, he couldn't find any trace of Lin Yuan. At this moment, Lin Yuan had already silently snuck into the grass behind the man and stared at him like a tiger watching its prey. Seeing that the man's back was still facing him and attacking the grass, Lin Yuan didn't hold back and once again pounced on the man's back. Success! Lin Yuan was delighted. He used the same trick again and tightened his grip on the man's neck. At the same time, he suddenly opened his bloody mouth and bit down on the man's neck. He bit down again. Even Lin Yuan himself didn't notice that the two snake fangs in his mouth had silently injected a trace of venom into the man's body. The man was extremely shocked and angry. He didn't expect that damned beast to not only not escape, but come back to attack him again. In his shock and anger, he once again raised his hand to grab the black snake on his neck and was about to rip it off again. This time, he wouldn't let Lin Yuan go so easily. However, the next moment, he was shocked to find that his whole body seemed to be sore and weak. He could raise his arm and grab Lin Yuan, but he couldn't use his mana to pull him off. He could only widen his eyes and watch as Lin Yuan tightened his grip. Lin Yuan also noticed that something was wrong. The man's strength seemed to have weakened a lot. However, he couldn't care about anything else. He just tightly wrapped around the man's neck and didn't care whether it was useful or not. He opened his mouth and kept biting. Finally, with a bang, the man's body fell to the ground powerlessly and was still twitching and struggling slightly. Lin Yuan hurriedly left the man's body and hid at the side to watch for a while. When he found that the man's face was gradually turning purplish red and his breath was getting weaker and weaker until it finally disappeared completely, he was stunned. He died just like that? Was he strangled to death or poisoned to death? Could it be that he was actually poisoned? Since he was sure that the man was dead, Lin Yuan didn't hesitate anymore. He instantly jumped out and searched around the man's clothes. In the end, an object wrapped tightly in cloth was dug out from the pile. When he opened it to check, a faint, strange fragrance instantly wafted over. This must be the sage ginseng, right? It's really good stuff. Lin Yuan thought to himself. He picked it up and was about to run away. However, he suddenly raised his head and glanced at the half-naked woman under the tree. At this moment, the woman was obviously stunned by the sudden turn of events. She stared at Lin Yuan with her big eyes. When she saw Lin Yuan looking at her, the woman's face showed a panicked expression again. However, she was frozen in place and couldn't move at all. She could only watch as Lin Yuan kept coming closer. Chapter 7. Lin Yuan was indeed approaching. He even put down the sage ginseng in his mouth. Crawling to the front of the woman, Lin Yuan raised his head and looked at her carefully. This woman was indeed beautiful. She looked to be around 17 or 18 years old. Although she was crying, it was not hard to see that she was a beauty. "What a pity, your IQ is not enough," Lin Yuan muttered. Of course, the woman could not tell. She only stared at Lin Yuan with her eyes wide open. She did not even dare to breathe. She was afraid of alarming Lin Yuan and being bitten by Lin Yuan. "Although I want to save you, I don't know how to unseal this acupuncture point. You'll have to pray for yourself," Lin Yuan muttered. He turned his head and picked up a piece of clothing from the ground to cover the woman's body. Then he picked up the sage ginseng and quickly disappeared into the bushes. It's covering me with clothing?" The woman's eyes widened in disbelief. She thought that she would not be able to escape from her beast-faced cousin. She did not expect that her cousin would be killed by this snake in the blink of an eye. She thought that she would be bitten to death by the snake. She did not expect that the snake did not attack her at all. It even covered her with clothing in a very humane manner before slipping away. Was this really a snake? How could a snake be so intelligent? The woman was shocked, but she was more glad. She was glad that she did not meet with a vicious attack. Although she was still imprisoned here, this kind of acupuncture point seal would automatically be broken by the true qi in her body in an hour. As long as her luck was not bad and no demonic beast attacked her at this time, she might not die. Lin Yuan naturally did not know how shocked the woman was. At this moment, he was happily holding the sage ginseng in his mouth and hiding in the crown of a nearby tree. He was preparing to devour it. That's right. He did not go too far from this place. Firstly, this area was safe for the time being. Secondly, he wanted to see what would happen to the girl later and whether she could leave this place alive. If she really died here because her acupoints were sealed, then there was nothing he could do about it. Ignoring the things around him, Lin Yuan opened his eyes and carefully examined the sage ginseng in front of him. It was a palm-sized object that looked like a pineapple, but it was purple in color. Even its roots and leaves were purple in color. A faint fragrance wafted out from above, causing one to be unable to resist the temptation. Since he was sure that this was sage ginseng, Lin Yuan would not be courteous. Opening his mouth, he activated the infinite evolution system and swallowed it. A familiar feeling appeared. The sage ginseng also turned into a faint green dot of light and disappeared into Lin Yuan's mouth. At the same time, a warm feeling came over, and Lin Yuan couldn't help but stretch out comfortably. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the golden body secrets began to circulate again. The warm current in his body was instantly driven by the golden body secrets and began to rapidly circulate and refine into his body. At the same time, the system notification sounded. Ding! You have obtained the 100-year-old sage ginseng from the other party and consumed it. The mission has been successfully completed. Obtain 0.5 attribute points to be distributed as a reward. Ding! Successfully swallowed sage herb. Obtain 0.5 attribute points to be distributed. I can also obtain attribute points by consuming treasures of heaven and earth. Lin Yuan was shocked. After the shock, he was elated. One had to know that he could only obtain 0.5 attribute points after painstakingly hunting a level 1 mystical beast. He did not expect to obtain 0.5 attribute points so easily. Including the completion of the system's mission, he had obtained 1 attribute point today. This was definitely a huge gain. However, just as Lin Yuan was looking at the attribute panel and preparing to distribute the attribute points, he unexpectedly discovered that the attribute points he could distribute were not 1, but 1. What's going on? Lin Yuan was stunned. He remembered that he didn't do anything else today. Wait a minute. Soon, Lin Yuan reacted. The 1 attribute point was a reward from the system after he had hunted and killed his cousin just now. Moreover, Lin Yuan also found the record of the system notification. It was just that he didn't notice it before. Hunting wild beasts also allowed him to obtain attribute points. This was something that he didn't expect. However, he didn't dwell on it. After all, that guy deserved to die. Even if he killed him, he didn't mind. What bothered him was that the other party was clearly a level 1 wild beast. Why did the system only reward him with 0.1 attribute points to be distributed? Could it be that because I leveled up, the system's reward decreased sharply? Lin Yuan's heart thumped. However, there was no way to verify it now. It was more important to distribute the attribute points first. After all, in this demonic beast forest where danger lurked everywhere, only by becoming stronger could he give him a sense of security. In the end, Lin Yuan allocated 0.3 attribute points to speed, 0.5 attribute points to attack, and the remaining 0.3 attribute points to defense. At this moment, Lin Yuan's attributes had been refreshed. Host, Lin Yuan status, Big Black Snake, Evolvable, Realm, 1/10th talent. Identify enemy's location based on smell speed, 2 defense, 1. 3 attack, 1. 5 assignable attribute points, 0 martial arts, golden body secrets, system, am I poisonous? Lin Yuan suddenly asked. Previously, when he attacked his cousin, the other party's reaction was obviously abnormal. Replying to the host, your current status is a big black snake. It carries a certain level of poison. That's it? Lin Yuan was stunned for a moment. However, no matter how much Lin Yuan asked, the system did not reply and immediately went silent. Alright, now I should have the speed of a level 2 demonic beast? Lin Yuan smiled and tried to twist his body on the tree. His speed was indeed much faster than before. At this moment, suddenly, there was a rustling sound not far away. Lin Yuan hurriedly looked over and discovered that the little girl who had her acupuncture points sealed earlier had regained her mobility. After regaining her mobility, the first thing she did was to quickly stand up and quickly put on the clothes draped over her body. After wrapping herself up tightly, her gaze fell on her cousin's corpse. She went up and fiercely scolded, "Damn it, I didn't expect you to be such a beast with a human face. You can't even compare to a snake." After scolding, the girl turned her head and looked around, as if she was looking for something. However, she did not find anything abnormal, nor did she find what she was looking for. In addition, this was the demonic beast forest. In the end, she did not dare to stay here for long. She quickly ran towards the outskirts of the forest and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Lin Yuan hid in the canopy and coldly stared at the direction the girl left in. He swept a glance and memorized that direction. That direction might be the place to leave the demonic beast forest and head towards the human settlement. Chapter 8. The girl left the demonic beast forest. Perhaps she would never forget that she was saved by a snake today. In the future, she might even talk about this story as a legend. But at this moment, Lin Yuan was also about to leave. Whether it was to survive or for revenge, Lin Yuan had to make himself stronger first. Only when he was strong enough, he could try to contact the humans of this world. Only when he came into contact with humans, Lin Yuan would be able to understand what kind of world this was. And now, the most important thing to do was to continue hunting and devouring. From this day onwards, at the edge of this demonic beast forest, there was a little black snake wandering around. This little black snake was constantly wandering in the forest. Whenever it encountered a level 1 demonic beast or wild beast, it would rush up and try to devour the other party. If it encountered a level 2 and above demonic beast, it would use the system map function to avoid being hunted by these demonic beasts. Time flew. Lin Yuan himself did not know how long he had been wandering in the demonic beast forest. In the process, Lin Yuan encountered many dangers and even encountered a level 3 demonic beast. At that time, if Lin Yuan did not react quickly enough and was alert enough, he would have lost his life here. Fortunately, there was a reward for the effort. He had successfully upgraded from a level 1 demonic beast to a level 2 demonic beast. His body had also increased from 5 feet to almost 8 feet. The golden line on his back was even more conspicuous. Another day. As usual, Lin Yuan was wandering in the forest, looking for things to devour. Suddenly, the system beep sounded. Ding, 1,000 meters southeast, discovered 7 level 1 demonic beasts. Ding, 1,100 meters southeast, discovered a level 2 demonic beast. Ding, 1,100 meters southeast, discovered several unknown demonic beasts. 3 consecutive beeps sounded one after the other. Lin Yuan did not even think and subconsciously turned around, wanting to slip away in another direction. What a joke! There were level 2 demonic beasts and 7 level 1 demonic beasts. However, at the next moment, Lin Yuan's body suddenly froze in place. Ding! 1,000 meters to the southeast, a third-grade spiritual herb, cloud rainflower, has been discovered. Third-grade cloud rainflower? Lin Yuan's snake eyes widened as he abruptly turned his head and looked towards the southeast. After spending some time with these people, he had already gotten used to the life here and understood what the system meant when it said the third-grade cloud rainflower. Back then, when he had swallowed the sage ginseng into his stomach, it was only comparable to a second-grade spiritual herb. Now, a third-grade spiritual herb had appeared. No wonder so many demonic beasts suddenly appeared in that direction. They were probably attracted by the cloud rainflower. Should he go over? Lin Yuan felt a little conflicted. That was a grade 3 spiritual herb. As long as he could obtain it, he would be able to gain at least 1 attribute point. To him, this was too tempting. Now, he could no longer obtain any attribute points from killing those ordinary wild beasts. Killing a level 1 beast only gave him 1 attribute points. Even if he hunted an existence of the same level, he would only be able to obtain 5 attribute points. Only by hunting a level 3 demonic beast and above would he be able to obtain 1 attribute point and above. It could be said that as his strength continued to increase, it would be harder for him to level up. Previously, he thought that he could level up quickly. Now that he thought about it, he was too naive. How could a level 3 demonic beast be killed so easily? Now that he had obtained this third-grade cloud rainflower, he would be able to obtain an effect that was comparable to killing a level 3 demonic beast. How could Lin Yuan not take action? Since there are no level 3 demonic beasts around, facing a level 2 demonic beast, at least I have the ability to protect myself. I'll go take a look first. If things don't turn out well, I'll just slip away. With this thought in mind, Lin Yuan resolutely turned around and quickly slipped away towards the southeast direction. 1,000 meters. 500 meters. 300 meters. As he got closer, Lin Yuan's talent was activated and he could easily identify the approximate location and number of demonic beasts in the area. At this moment, there were not only 7 level 1 demonic beasts gathered nearby, but there were 11 of them. Fortunately, there was still only 1 level 2 demonic beast. As for those normal beasts, most of them were wandering around nearby, not daring to come close. They were all suppressed by the level 2 demonic beast's aura and didn't dare to come close. As he got closer, Lin Yuan could already smell a faint fragrance. This fragrance came from the southeast direction and constantly stimulated his sense of smell. Even without the system's notification, he would still subconsciously believe that this was a good thing. After getting closer to 300 meters, Lin Yuan didn't rush to get closer. Instead, he chose a large tree nearby and quietly climbed to the top of the tree. He slowly shuttled through the many towering trees and got closer to the scene of the incident. Fortunately, this demonic beast forest was filled with towering trees and the tree crowns were connected to each other. Even if Lin Yuan were to swim on the tree crowns, he didn't have to worry about falling down. Very smoothly, he got closer to the level 1 demonic beasts. At this point, Lin Yuan didn't dare to swagger around and subconsciously stopped in place, quietly sizing up the demonic beasts below. The 11 demonic beasts each had their own merits and there were all kinds of species. Lin Yuan didn't even know the names of many of them and had never seen them before. However, these demonic beasts were no longer in Lin Yuan's eyes. His gaze landed on the level 2 demonic beast. This was the biggest obstacle to his journey. It was a lone wolf with a height of 1 meter and a length of 2 meters. Its entire body was covered in greenish-gray fur. It was crouching and baring its fangs at the level 1 demonic beasts. Such a big green wolf? Lin Yuan's scalp felt numb. Although he had already reached the level of a level 2 demonic beast, his body was only 10 feet long and was only as thick as his wrist. This wolf was actually so big that Lin Yuan would believe it if he said it was a calf. Swallowing his saliva with difficulty, Lin Yuan's gaze turned again and looked at the target that attracted him. It was a small stream. On a large rock at the edge of the stream, there was a plant with only 2 leaves. At the top of the plant, there was a pure white flower. From afar, it looked like a white cloud floating on top of it. That faintly discernible strange fragrance was coming from the stamen. At this moment, the level 2 green wolf was standing in the southwest of the cloud rainflower while the 11 level 1 demonic beasts were standing in other directions nearby. The group of demonic beasts had almost occupied the entire vicinity of the stream. However, these demonic beasts seemed to be wary of each other. Therefore, even though the cloud rainflower had fully bloomed, this group of demonic beasts still didn't act rashly. Lin Yuan was at least 10 meters above these demonic beasts, watching the scene from the top of a tree. He was secretly anxious. Chapter 9. If this bunch of idiots continued to be in a stalemate, the longer they dragged it out, the more monsters would be attracted. If a monster above level 3 appeared during this period, then no one would be able to get the cloud rainflower. No, I have to think of something. Lin Yuan was conflicted. At the same time, he quickly turned his head and looked to both sides. Finally, he found a fist-sized fruit growing on a branch not far from him. Without the slightest hesitation, Lin Yuan quietly crawled over, opened his mouth, and carefully picked the fruit while trying not to make a sound. The process was very smooth. With the fruit in his mouth, Lin Yuan crawled back to his original position. Below, the group of monsters were still in a stalemate. Lin Yuan made up his mind. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and threw the fruit in his mouth at the green wolf. Bam! The fruit hit the green wolf on the forehead, causing it to stagger. Of course, this level of injury was not enough to hurt the level 2 monster. However, it was enough to distract it and raise its head to look up. At the moment when the green wolf was distracted, around it, the 11 monsters who had been eyeing the cloud rainflower covetously charged at it. Sensing this, the green wolf let out a low growl and charged towards the cloud rainflower. Boar! Accompanied by an earth-shattering howl, the green wolf successfully hit a monster that looked like a wild boar and sent it flying. As it landed, it charged at another monster on the side. How could a level 1 monster be a match for the green wolf? It was sent flying with 1 hit. At the same time, the green wolf hurriedly turned around and ran towards the cloud rainflower. It wanted to eat the cloud rainflower first. However, the other monsters were not having it. With such a huge benefit in front of them, it was enough to drive these monsters who did not have much intelligence crazy. Most of them started to attack the green wolf, preventing it from getting close to the cloud rainflower. The green wolf also stopped the monsters from getting close to the cloud rainflower. Just like that, a single green wolf managed to hold back 11 demonic beasts, preventing them from taking even a single step closer to the cloud rainflower. Roars. The sound of fighting. Wails. Incessant. Even the water in the stream was stirred up. The ordinary beasts that had been eyeing them covetously were obviously frightened. They quickly retreated, and in the blink of an eye, they all ran away. Lin Yuan remained in the air, silently watching his masterpiece below. At this moment, the green wolf had already bitten 2 demonic beasts to death, and the remaining 9 demonic beasts were still attacking him. The green wolf had also suffered some minor injuries, but it was only a matter of time before he finished off those level 1 demonic beasts. Suddenly, Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed. In midair, he actually saw a black shadow suddenly appear in the middle of the murky stream. It was also a black snake, about 7 feet long. It was also a Class 1 demonic beast. However, the timing of this black snake's attack was extremely good. It just so happened that when the green wolf was attacking the other demonic beasts, It chose to attack without causing any commotion. If Lin Yuan hadn't coincidentally seen it in midair, he probably wouldn't have noticed the black snake that was quietly approaching. "Umph, you dare to snatch something that I've already reserved?" Lin Yuan muttered. His gaze swept across the green wolf's body. Then, without hesitation, he turned around and quickly climbed down the tree trunk. When he was about 10 meters down, he saw that the black snake was about to reach the cloud rainflower. Lin Yuan suddenly jumped down from the 10-meter-tall tree trunk and flew rapidly towards the cloud rainflower. In the stream, the black snake hadn't noticed this and was secretly delighted. It was about to come ashore and eat the cloud rainflower. However, at this moment, its vision suddenly turned black. Then, a huge lump suddenly smashed onto its body. When it wanted to retaliate, it suddenly realized that the huge lump had already rushed out and directly wrapped around the cloud rainflower. It swallowed the cloud rainflower in one gulp, then turned around and rushed into the stream. By the stream. Seeing Lin Yuan's smooth movements from the moment he landed to the moment he plucked the flower and left, the black snake was completely stunned. It even started to doubt its life as a snake. His plan was going well, so why did this Qing Yaojin suddenly appear out of nowhere? Looking at the bare flower stalk in front of it, the black snake suddenly felt a chill. Without hesitation, it turned around and rushed into the stream. However, it was too late. With such a big commotion, it naturally attracted the attention of the green wolf. The green wolf turned around and saw that the cloud rainflower was gone. Instead, a black snake was swimming into the stream. It was instantly enraged and turned around to pounce on it. Just as the black snake was about to enter the stream, it bit it and dragged it out. Then it was a brutal massacre. In the distance, Lin Yuan's snake had popped out from the edge of a stream. After confirming that it was safe, it quickly swam out of the stream and quickly swam towards a forest on the side. From time to time, he could hear the wolf's hoarse howls. Lin Yuan could feel the anger of the green wolf at this moment. However, what did it have to do with him? Happily climbing up a big tree, Lin Yuan's snake body curled up and quickly checked the system. The moment he swallowed the cloud rainflower, the infinite evolution system turned it into a warm current and swallowed it. Other than the warm feeling in his body, there was an additional attribute point that could be assigned. Lin Yuan did not hesitate to add it to his speed and attack. At this moment, Lin Yuan's attributes were refreshed again. Host, Lin Yuan status, Big Black Snake, Evolvable, Realm, 2 out of 10 talent. Identify the enemy's location based on smell speed, 3 defense, 2. 3 attack, 2. 9 assignable attribute points, 0 martial arts, golden body secrets. Looking at the system's refreshed results, Lin Yuan was overjoyed. This was the result of his recent desperate efforts. Now, his speed had finally reached the level of a level 3 monster. His attack was almost the same too. At least, he was definitely one of the best among the level 2 monsters. Of course, this was not enough. A level 3 monster might seem strong, but in reality, it could not even open its mouth to speak, let alone enter a human city. Before it could even step in, it would be killed by a group of people. Furthermore, he had not reached the level of a level 3 monster yet. Turning his head to look at the wolf's howls that were still coming from afar, Lin Yuan's heart was itching. Should he go back and hunt that green wolf too? Once this idea came out, he could no longer hold it back. Lin Yuan gritted his teeth and climbed down from the tree. He quickly swam back to where the green wolf was. Chapter 10. Returning to his previous location, Lin Yuan could smell the thick smell of blood in the air from afar. A rank 2 demonic beast had gone berserk. The chaos it caused was enough to set off a terrifying storm in a small area. The forest seemed to be in a riot. All kinds of beast roars and chaotic hisses were constantly intertwined. The terrifying atmosphere made people want to turn around and run away. At this moment, a female black panther rushed towards Lin Yuan's direction. Its speed was extremely fast. It had definitely reached the level of a rank 2 demonic beast. Lin Yuan was shocked. Could it be that he had been discovered? But when the female panther approached Lin Yuan, it suddenly fell to the ground. Blood flowed out from its chest and abdomen. It struggled as if it wanted to get up, but it was no longer possible. Lin Yuan's heart trembled. He quietly approached and swallowed the female panther. Immediately he received 0.1 attribute points. As his strength increased, the benefits of swallowing the weak gradually decreased. This female panther was close to a rank 2 demonic beast. If he had swallowed it when he had just crossed over, Lin Yuan estimated that he would have received close to 1 attribute point. But even if it was only 0.1 attribute points, it was still precious. Lin Yuan spat out his tongue and added it to his attack. This also announced that Lin Yuan's attack power had reached 3.0, which was not much different from a rank 3 demonic beast. Next, to deal with the green wolf, he needed to have enough strength. Ding! Congratulations to the host for breaking through 3 points of attack power. You have received the innate skill, Strangle. Ding! Detected the host's rapid growth. The system has successfully evolved. The host can automatically absorb the opponent's life force to evolve. There is no need to continue swallowing the opponent's body. And my attack power broke through 3 points and I even got a skill. Moreover, there is no need to continue swallowing flesh. This saves a big step. It is indeed much simpler. Lin Yuan was overjoyed. He really did not like swallowing corpses, but now it was much more convenient. Overjoyed, he hurriedly looked at the other skill. Strangle. After binding the opponent, the user's attack power is doubled. It was a very simple and violent skill. With this skill, it was almost certain that he would be able to deal with the big cyan wolf. However, the prerequisite of binding the opponent was still difficult to achieve. It was not easy to bind a berserk level 2 vicious beast. Moving forward slowly, Lin Yuan officially approached the battlefield. What entered his eyes was a complete mess. More than half of the 10 demon beasts he saw earlier were lying on the ground, and all of them were dead. Their broken limbs, shattered internal organs, and blood splattered everywhere, and all of them revealed their wild and ruthless nature. Not only that, but there were also the corpses of other demonic beasts that had been attracted by the chaos and the smell of blood. That big green wolf was biting the throat of a tall stag. Its body was a full size bigger than before. Obviously, it had slaughtered many Class 1 demonic beasts and was actually on the verge of a breakthrough. The fur on its upper body was mixed with all kinds of sticky blood. One of its eyes was blinded by something, but it did not look miserable at all. Instead, it looked domineering, like a new king of the jungle that was about to be born. Awoo! As the stag breathed its last, the big green wolf raised its head and howled, causing the leaves of the surrounding trees to rustle. Dong! The ground seemed to shake. Something was attracted by the howl of the big green wolf. A huge tree fell down, and with a great force, it smashed towards the direction where Lin Yuan was hiding. Although Lin Yuan was a little startled, he did not panic. Relying on his current speed that was comparable to a Class 3 demonic beast, he nimbly dodged the falling tree. Not only did he not receive any damage, he even used the momentum of the falling tree to hide himself and get closer to the big green wolf. At this distance, Lin Yuan was confident that if he launched a surprise attack now, the big green wolf would not be able to react. However, Lin Yuan did not act rashly. He was still observing, waiting for a better opportunity. He quietly hid in the dense branches of the trees, observing the situation outside through the gaps of the leaves. The thick smell of blood covered his own scent, so he would not be easily discovered. Dong! Another tremor. This time, the thing that brought the tremor finally appeared in front of Lin Yuan. It was a huge white wild boar. Its eyes were crimson red, and its body was at least twice the size of the big green wolf. Its entire body was covered in bulging muscles, and it emitted a shockingly violent aura. Every step it took brought a feeling of being struck by an earthquake, causing the tremor to directly fall on the heart, causing one's blood to boil. If it was in existence below Class 1 demonic beast, it would probably be scared out of its wits upon seeing this violent white wild boar. The big green wolf lowered its body and faced the big wild boar. Lin Yuan estimated that this white wild boar was at least a Class 3 demonic beast. Although the big green wolf was on the verge of breaking through, after a series of tough battles, It was still not a match for this terrifying big wild boar. At this moment, Lin Yuan also had the thought of retreating. This big wild boar that was suddenly attracted was just too terrifying. Oh, before the big wild boar even made a move, the big green wolf seemed to be unable to withstand the terrifying pressure on the field. It bared its teeth and rushed up. Its fangs suddenly expanded, and it opened its bloody mouth and bit towards the big wild boar's throat. Although the big wild boar was huge, its speed was not slow. It nimbly raised its head and dodged the fierce attack of the big green wolf. At the same time, it took advantage of the momentum to raise its upper body. It raised both of its hooves and heavily slammed them down. Boom! An indescribably violent wave of chi suddenly exploded. The ground cracked, and rocks flew everywhere. The arrow-like rocks were like a storm that enveloped the big green wolf. After a moment, the rocks scattered, and the big green wolf no longer had a single intact piece of fur on its body. It lay on the ground dispiritedly, and only light breathing sounds could be heard. The big wild boar's crimson-red eyes flashed with a hint of mockery. As a Class 3 demonic beast, it already had a certain level of intelligence. It slowly approached the big green wolf, appearing very arrogant, but also somewhat cautious. Its huge fangs pushed the big green wolf a few times. It seemed to be gentle, but in fact, it was very powerful. The big green wolf's body was once again pressed down, and the shocking dark red blood seemed to show that this big green wolf was in decline. The big wild boar no longer had any doubts. Its eyes lit up with joy, and it approached the big green wolf, about to swallow it. Just as the big wild boar approached the big green wolf, the originally dying big green wolf suddenly exploded, and its bloody mouth viciously bit down on the big wild boar's throat. Awoo! The big wild boar howled miserably and desperately shook its body, wanting to throw the big green wolf away. But how could the big green wolf be willing to do so? Even though its body was being dragged along, and the huge wild boar's fangs caused deep wounds to appear, the big green wolf still didn't let go. Blood continuously flowed out like a stream, as if there was no end to it. In an instant, it formed a sticky pool of blood. The big green wolf and the white wild boar were struggling in it. The most primitive wild nature of the big green wolf was gushing out. Just looking at this scene was enough to make people go crazy. The surrounding forest strangely quieted down. All the creatures were scared away and didn't dare to approach this terrifying battlefield. There was only a weak breath not far away. That was Lin Yuan, who was hiding. At this moment, he looked particularly miserable. Although the power of the big wild boar's hoof had landed on the big green wolf, because he was too close, he was also affected. Almost 30% of the scales on his body were broken. At some point, the big wild boar's struggle began to weaken, and the sound of the horn also became short, filled with the sorrow of dying. The blood had already spread to the place where Lin Yuan was hiding. Lin Yuan knew that the time had come. He suddenly rushed out from the broken branches on the side, like a jet-black lightning. Chapter 11. Qi. Lin Yuan bit down on the other side of the boar's neck. His whole body quickly wrapped around the boar and the green wolf at the same time, and he activated the strangulation skill. Individually, these two guys were more terrifying than Lin Yuan. But at this moment, they were at the end of the road and couldn't even put up a decent struggle. Time slowly passed, but Lin Yuan didn't dare to relax. Finally, when the sun sank into the horizon, the system gave him a notification. Ding! Congratulations to host for successfully killing the level 3 demonic beast pale wild boar. Received 1 attribute point. Congratulations to host for killing the level 2 demonic beast green wolf. Received 0. 5 attribute points. A full 1. 5 attribute points, making Lin Yuan unable to suppress the ecstasy in his heart. Without any hesitation, he directly allocated 0. 7 attribute points, and increased his defense to 3 points. In an instant, an indescribable feeling swept through his body. Lin Yuan's body visibly became thicker and longer, and his body size increased by nearly half. This also marked that he had officially become a level 3 demonic beast. As his body size increased, his body length was now more than 3 zhang, and his overall strength seemed to have a qualitative increase. Now, even if he faced the green wolf at its peak, he could easily win. Even if he revived the boar, it was hard to say who would win. Lin Yuan, whose body size had increased, actually felt a sense of hunger from his stomach. After being stunned for a moment, Lin Yuan finally twisted his body and let go of the boar. He wrapped the green wolf's body, opened his mouth, and swallowed the green wolf whole. He hadn't evolved teeth that could chew, so he could only choose to swallow it whole. Even after its body size increased, the green wolf was still bigger than him. But at this moment, it was easily swallowed by Lin Yuan, and the whole process didn't even take a stick of incense's time. Lin Yuan's body at his abdomen had more than doubled in size, and he could faintly see the outline of the green wolf's body. He moved his body with difficulty, slowly crawling forward. An incomparably strong sense of tiredness attacked his heart, making him want to immediately fall asleep. But right now, this place was still too dangerous, and he had to find a relatively safe place. Lin Yuan resisted the strong drowsiness, dragged his body, and slowly hid in the river. After entering the river, his movements became slightly easier. He immediately swam towards a hidden water plant and hid in it. Only the tip of his nose was slightly above the water surface. Then, he could no longer endure the tiredness and fell into a deep sleep. The smell of blood seeped into his nostrils. Lin Yuan subconsciously wanted to smell it more clearly. He spat out his long snake tongue. Without opening his eyes, a three-dimensional image had already appeared in his mind like a precise electronic scanner. He was still hiding in the seaweed from before. The surface of the water was rolling violently. A level 2 demonic demonic beast was hunting a wild horse not far away. The crocodile bit the wild horse's head and dragged it into the water with all its might. Blood dyed the river red. Lin Yuan didn't pay too much attention to it. Instead, he examined his current state and opened the system interface at the same time. Host. Lin Yuan state, Big Black Snake, Evolvable, Realm, 3/10 talent. 1. Identify the enemy's position by smell. 2. Create an accurate image of a 500-meter radius around the body based on the odor speed. 3 defense. 3 attack. 3 distributable points. 0. 8 martial arts. Golden body secrets. At this moment, Lin Yuan felt unprecedentedly comfortable. Since he transmigrated, this was the first time he felt like he had complete control of his body. The big green wolf in his stomach had been completely digested, filling every cell in his body. Every drop of blood and every strand of muscle was filled with vigorous strength. Through his perception, Lin Yuan found out that 3 months had already passed. During this period of deep sleep, his body had grown even further. He was already more than 40 feet tall, and now he was close to 15 meters tall. The thickest part of his body was more than the thickness of an adult's arm, and he had become a true colossus. The crocodile had already dragged the wild horse into the river. It rolled and wanted to swallow the other party. Lin Yuan's tail curled, and his huge body stretched slightly, entangling the crocodile. Before the huge crocodile could react to what had happened, Lin Yuan had already activated the strangle skill. The huge force instantly crushed the crocodile's bones. Its sturdy scales were shattered, and its bones and blood dyed the river red. Lin Yuan spat out a letter. He raised his huge body, almost reaching the top of the tree. When he spat out the letter, everything within a 500-meter radius was clearly visible in his mind. A red sun rose from the east, and the brilliant sunlight shone on his scales that were as black as cold iron, reflecting rays of white light. The surrounding forest was in an uproar, as if they had felt the birth of a new king. They fled in all directions in fear. Screech! A loud eagle cry suddenly came from the sky, resounding through the sky. The sound of wings flapping could be heard continuously. Lin Yuan raised his head and saw a huge double-headed gray eagle with a wingspan of nearly 4 zhang rushing towards him. Its speed was so fast that it actually tore through the air, creating a huge gust of wind. It blew in a radius of several miles, causing the huge trees to shake and tremble. The double-headed gray eagle's movements were too fast. In the blink of an eye, a pair of iron claws had already attacked, aiming at the 7 inches behind Lin Yuan's head. If he was caught, he probably wouldn't have the slightest chance to resist. Fortunately, Lin Yuan's reaction wasn't slow. With a twist of his body, he instantly dived into the river. With a sweep of his huge tail, a huge wave of water swept towards the gray eagle. The double-headed gray eagle's attack missed, and it suddenly raised its body, preparing to fly into the sky and dive down again. However, the violent current restricted its movements, causing it to instantly slow down. However, this restriction only lasted for a moment. One of the double-headed gray eagle's heads carefully stared at the river surface, while the other head was raised high, looking at the sky. With a flap of its wings, a terrifying airflow erupted, causing the water around it to splash away, and it regained its speed. At this moment, Lin Yuan suddenly leaped out from the river like a giant flood dragon emerging from the water. He suddenly bit at the double-headed gray eagle's wings. However, the double-headed gray eagle seemed to have been prepared. The head that had been staring at the river surface flashed with a vigilant light. Its huge body nimbly tilted, and it actually dodged Lin Yuan's attack. At the same time, it raised its claws and suddenly clawed at Lin Yuan's eyes. This was too sudden, and Lin Yuan didn't expect it at all. With the way the gray eagle tilted its body, it was impossible for it to fly again. If it fell into the water, Lin Yuan was confident that even if this double-headed gray eagle was a Class 3 demonic beast, he could still easily defeat it. Lin Yuan lowered his head and barely avoided the sharp eagle claws that attacked his eyes. However, a sharp pain came from the top of his head. His scales were shattered, and blood splattered. A deep wound had appeared on his head, and it almost reached his bones. If it was an inch closer, his brain would have been clawed out by the terrifying eagle claws. Enduring the sharp pain, Lin Yuan wanted to leap into the river again, waiting for the double-headed gray eagle to fall into the river. That way, victory would be his. However, at this moment, something unexpected happened. Chapter 12. The falling two-headed gray eagle flapped its wings and a gust of wind burst out, turning into a tornado and lifted it up. The two-headed gray eagle finally stabilized its body. Huge waves were set off on the surface of the river. This small river was almost cut in half. The violent tornado blew away all the water around Lin Yuan, revealing the bare riverbed. There was nowhere for Lin Yuan to hide. Screech! The two-headed gray eagle swooped down again with both of its claws, trying to grab Lin Yuan's vital point. Its beak also attacked, trying to peck Lin Yuan's eyes blind. If it was any other level 3 demonic beast, there was no way they could survive such a situation. Even the huge wild boar from before would not be a match for this two-headed gray eagle. However, Lin Yuan was not just an ordinary demonic beast. Other demonic beasts could only develop part of their intelligence when they reached level 3. They would only have some simple intelligence, but they would never be as smart as an adult. Lin Yuan's blood was surging in his body. He did not panic and did not escape to the bottom of the river. Instead, he used the gust of wind created by the two-headed gray eagle to charge back at it. This action was against the nature of beasts. The two-headed gray eagle's confident attack was immediately destroyed. Its claws did not grab Lin Yuan's vital point, but instead, it grabbed the snake's chest. The double-beak attack naturally missed. Instead, Lin Yuan tilted his head, and his movements were as fast as lightning. Before the two-headed gray eagle could react, Lin Yuan bit its wing shoulder. Screech! The double-headed gray eagle let out a panicked cry. It loosened its claws and wanted to abandon Lin Yuan and rush into the sky. However, since Lin Yuan had already bitten the eagle, how could he let it achieve its goal? Even if the scales on his chest and abdomen, which were relatively weak in defense, were bleeding, he still used the strength of the eagle's claws to roll up his giant tail and tightly entangle the eagle. Boom! The next moment, the huge black snake dragged the two-headed giant eagle down to the bottom of the river. The river rushed past them again and drowned them. The river quickly returned to its calm state, as if the two huge creatures did not exist at all. Only the ripples that occasionally appeared and the gravel that kept falling from the shore showed what kind of huge forces were competing with each other in the dark underwater. Under the water, Lin Yuan had already completely entangled the two-headed gray eagle. Victory was already his. However, the double-headed gray eagle was extremely ferocious. Even in this situation, it did not give up struggling. Its sharp claws crazily struggled, and its beak was restless as well. It slashed open one terrifying wound after another on Lin Yuan's body. If it were not for the fact that his body had grown larger and the defensive power of his scales had greatly increased, he would have been torn to pieces by the eagle's terrifying claws. At this moment, Lin Yuan suddenly felt a little angry. Of all the things he could have reincarnated into, he just had to be a snake that didn't even have claws. Of course, this was just a momentary thought. Even though his thoughts were scattered, he still did not relax his strength. With the addition of strangulation, even though the two-headed gray eagle was also a Class 3 monster, it was not on the same level as him in the water. It was being squeezed step by step. Puff! At a certain moment, the sound of a bubble bursting could be heard from the bottom of the water. The two-headed gray eagle's movements suddenly stopped. The vitality in its 2 heads and 4 eyes began to quickly dissipate. Its entire body became soft as if it had no bones and turned into a pile of mud. Lin Yuan knew that he had already crushed all the bones in the eagle's body. At the same time, the system notification rang out. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a Class 3 monster, the two-headed gray eagle. The reward is 1. 2 attribute points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a bird of the same level. The reward is a skill draw opportunity. Ding! Host has killed a monster at the top of the food chain. The mission is unlocked. Fight for the nest. The 3 notifications made Lin Yuan very surprised. This two-headed gray eagle was actually at the top of the food chain? The reward was really generous. If he judged it based on his previous experience, it was equivalent to killing a small boss. Lin Yuan's heart was filled with joy. He looked at his own attribute panel. There were 2 attribute points on it, making him feel very satisfied. After thinking for a while, he felt a little scared. The battle with the two-headed gray eagle was really thrilling. At that time, he still had 8 attribute points that he did not use. This was undoubtedly a waste of his battle strength. So at this time, he did not hesitate and immediately thought about the direction to add points. Now that he had Strangle, he shouldn't be lacking in strength for the time being. He judged that in terms of pure strength, he was only slightly weaker than the pale wild boar from before, so he felt that he needed to increase his defense and speed. Just when he was about to make a move, he suddenly realized that he still had 1 more skill draw opportunity. Maybe he could consider adding points after he finished drawing the skill. Dragging his bruised body, Lin Yuan hid at the bottom of the river and sneaked to another place. Before drawing the skill, he had to leave this dangerous place. After the battle just now, the surrounding blood was scattered all over the river bank. He was afraid that it would attract many terrifying creatures. At that time, if another level 3 monster came, Lin Yuan would not be able to deal with it. At the same time he left, the corpse of the two-headed gray eagle, which had completely lost its vitality, floated to the surface of the water and flowed along the river. Lin Yuan's direction was upstream of the river. After leaving the previous battlefield for about 10 miles, the river became narrow. Lin Yuan turned into a tributary and dragged his body ashore. The wounds on his body were not good for healing in the water. Through his sense of smell, he quickly found a dry cave. There was a nest of forest wolves living in it. One of the male wolves had reached the level of a level 1 monster, but it was not a match for Lin Yuan at all. It was easily hunted and only received 1 attribute points. At this time, Lin Yuan realized the advantage of being a snake. That was, his killing process would not be accompanied by too much blood. In this dangerous and terrifying forest, the smell of blood would bring too much danger. Hiding in this cave, Lin Yuan calmed his mind and opened the system. He began to draw the skill. It was a whirlpool formed by air waves that floated in his eye. When Lin Yuan's consciousness approached it, the whirlpool immediately dissipated. Among the scattered air waves, 3 of them solidified and formed 3 pieces of information. Skill, poison enhancement. Your stomach has already tried various creatures. Due to the characteristics of the poison in your body, you are now immune to some poisons. You can also strengthen the strength of your poison by swallowing and digesting different poisons. Skill, poison breath. After a battle, you've realized the pitiful side of you as a limbless reptile. You believe that your attack power is seriously insufficient, so you can now spray out the poison stored in your poison gland 3 times a day in a radius of 10 feet. Although it can't compare to the sharp fangs and claws, it's still a method to win by surprise. Skill immutation. You seem to be troubled by the fact that you don't have fangs and claws. After obtaining this skill, you can trigger a mutation. If you are lucky, you might directly become a young dragon. Of course, it is more likely that you will have more useless limbs. Of course, it is also possible that you will grow wings or limbs that you have always dreamed of. Seeing these 3 skills, Lin Yuan's heart was simply overjoyed. These were all things that he currently lacked. Chapter 13. But when did he start to dream about wings? Was it because of the idea he had when he was fighting with the double-headed gray eagle? Indeed, when he saw that giant eagle with a wingspan of 3 zhang, sweeping up a gust of wind and swooping down from the sky, he was very shocked in his heart. In the previous battle, he had also wanted to restrict the opponent's flying ability first. Perhaps he really did have a strong desire for it. But at this time, the system's emotionless voice sounded, "Ding, skill extraction complete. Please choose one of the 3 skills that appeared." As the saying goes, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Lin Yuan looked at the 3 powerful skills, but he could only choose one of them. He felt a heartache as if his flesh was being gouged out. His spiritual sense lingered on the temporary skill mutation for a long time. After hesitating a few times, he still did not choose this skill with too many variables. It was true that the mutation was very powerful, and there was even the possibility of transforming into a dragon. This made Lin Yuan's blood boil, but even if he used the tip of his tail to think, he could understand that this possibility was very small. On the contrary, the word "more likely" mentioned by the system made him especially vigilant. If he mutated into some useless organs or some indescribable thing, and thus affected his strength, he might not even survive a day in this dangerous and terrifying forest. Therefore, reason still prevailed over greed. Lin Yuan was the first to give up on the skill mutation. He did not look at the light that represented mutation, but carefully examined the 2 skills, poison strengthening and poison breath, weighing the pros and cons in his heart. When Lin Yuan bit the 2-headed gray eagle, he didn't feel that his venom was very strong. It didn't seem to have any effect on the powerful eagle, which was also a 3rd-level demonic beast. After all, he was a python. Therefore, if he learned the skill poison breath, he would only use it to deal with those who were weaker than him. A distance of 3 feet was too small for his current body size, so Lin Yuan finally decided to choose poison strengthening. Therefore, he tried to merge his spirit into the light that represented poison strengthening. All of a sudden, a strange feeling swept through his huge body. Lin Yuan clearly felt that something on the side of his cheek, diagonally on his back, near 7 inches, began to change. A pair of brand new poison sacs grew there. At the same time, his mouth felt incomparably itchy, causing Lin Yuan to sneeze uncontrollably and open his mouth uncontrollably. Suddenly, a new pair of snake fangs grew out. The pair of snake fangs he had before were now like 2 small daggers. They were white and sturdy, and the tip of the fangs hit a venom gland. However, the venom was not strong. The new pair of fangs that had grown out were much thinner. The 2 pairs of fangs did not interfere with each other. Lin Yuan could flick out any pair of fangs, and he could also flick out both pairs at the same time. The additional pair of teeth also indirectly strengthened his biting ability, but it was not strong. After all, this pair of secondary teeth was much smaller than the previous teeth. As the pair of snake fangs popped out, a few drops of transparent, colorless, and odorless venom sprinkled on the rock in front of Lin Yuan. It immediately corroded the solid blue stone into green smoke, and a few small mottled holes were melted. Lin Yuan's eyes were filled with joy. He clearly felt that the current strength of the venom could definitely affect monsters of the same level. If it was the previous two-headed gray eagle that was bitten by him, even if he did not entangle with her, she would still be poisoned after a while. Even if she would not die directly, it was foreseeable that she would lose most of her combat ability. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the skill, Poison Strengthening. As Lin Yuan put away the pair of poisonous fangs, the system also gave a prompt. Lin Yuan suppressed the excitement in his heart and assigned all 9 points to speed. He originally wanted to choose to add to defense before, but now that he had the powerful venom as an attack method, the speed and accuracy of the attack became the first choice to strengthen himself. As his available points returned to 0, Lin Yuan's attributes once again showed a big change. Host, Lin Yuan status, Big Black Snake, Evolvable, Realm, 3 out of 10 talent. 1. Identify the enemy's position according to smell. 2. Form an accurate image of 500 meters around the body according to smell. Speed, 3, 9 defense, 3 attack, 3 assignable points, 0 martial arts, golden body secret art skill, strangle skill, poison strengthening with 9 points of speed. Lin Yuan clearly felt that his body had become more flexible and changeable. Some of the sluggishness and inconvenience caused by the change in size suddenly disappeared without a trace. After strengthening himself, Lin Yuan looked at the system again. He saw the mission that he had obtained before and began to carefully check the mission requirements. Mission, Battle of the Nest. As you gradually become stronger, you can already independently kill the powerful predators at the top of the food chain. This way, no matter where you go, you will attract the attention of powerful predators. The land you are in does not belong to you. Your existence will arouse vigilance. The weak will guard against you, and the strong will kill you. Therefore, you need a territory to show your existence, and at the same time leave a relatively safe residence. Mission Stage 1, Territory Uniqueness Mission Requirement. As a top predator, you need a territory of no less than 500 square kilometers as your residence and hunting ground. Kill all the level 3 demon beasts in this area and declare the ownership of the territory is the most important thing you need to do right now. 500 square kilometers. Lin Yuan was a little surprised. This area was not small. Lin Yuan slowly patrolled out of the dark cave where he was hiding and took the first step of conquering the territory. He raised his body and flicked out his forked tongue. Suddenly, he felt a sense of grandeur. He never thought that he would also have such thoughts. That was, when he looked at the vast land, he had a feeling that it would belong to him, that he would conquer and control it. However, Lin Yuan also noticed some other things. For example, he began to perceive a different aura shrouding the place. Without carefully sniffing, Lin Yuan could know that it belonged to a black tiger. He was the ruler of this territory. At every certain distance, his mark would be left in the territory, warning all the predators that stepped into this territory and announcing the ownership of the food. This distance was the limit of Lin Yuan's sense of smell. It could be imagined that the other party should also be able to perceive the same range. In other words, this black tiger was at least a level 3 monster. At this moment, Lin Yuan's heart surged with an extremely unpleasant feeling. That kind of feeling was like he had been NTR'd. Not only mentally, but also physically, it made him feel extremely uncomfortable. He wanted to erase the aura and existence of that black tiger in this territory. When such a thought appeared, he almost didn't think and subconsciously spat out some thin venom at a corner of the cave, using his own aura to cover up the aura left behind by the black tiger. Chapter 14. Roar. As this aura was erased by Lin Yuan, an earth-shattering roar suddenly came from afar, shaking the forest. That roar brought with it a burst of mountain mist, mixed with a thick smell of blood and hostility, and attacked Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan suddenly woke up, feeling a little helpless. Just now, he was subconsciously dominated by his bestial nature. Sure enough, the territorial awareness of living creatures was super terrifying. Even if he was used to suppressing the bestial nature in his body, he was still unconsciously dominated by this bestial nature. He didn't even use his brain and directly added his own aura to the territory. Coincidentally, the owner of this territory was nearby. It seemed that a big battle was inevitable. He spat out a message to sense it. The black tiger's speed was terrifyingly fast. Even in the dense forest, it was indescribably fast. After about 10 breaths, it should appear at Lin Yuan's current location. Lin Yuan coiled up his body and prepared to fight. Suddenly, he saw the corpse of a male wolf lying on the side, which had been dead for a long time. This made him suddenly think of something. Just now, he was dominated by his bestial nature. At this moment, he wanted to face the incoming black tiger head-on. However, at this moment, the intelligence of a human flashed through his mind. In an instant, many thoughts flashed through his mind. He already had a mature consideration of what to do next. Lin Yuan lowered his head, popped out a pair of newly grown teeth, and bit the corpse of the male wolf. He injected most of the venom in the poison gland, leaving only a small amount of venom in the poison gland. Then, he pushed the corpse of the male wolf to the place where he left his aura. After doing all this, Lin Yuan carefully retreated into the cave. His huge body hid in the shadows of the cave. A pair of cold eyes quietly watched the corpse of the male wolf. At a certain moment, the wind stopped. The forest was so quiet that it was almost frightening. The chirping of insects and birds disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by a vigorous and violent breathing sound. Shwa! A gigantic pitch-black shadow flashed past. It was a gigantic black tiger. Its body was majestic, and its forelimbs were ridiculously developed. The contours of its muscles were distinct, and it displayed a terrifying explosive power. It was the owner of this territory, a black tiger. He bit the male wolf's corpse almost without any probing. He was in an extremely frenzied state as he slammed his claws over. That terrifying power was enough to shock anyone who saw it. In an instant, the male wolf's body was torn apart. Fresh blood splattered everywhere, drenching Black Tiger's head and face. He opened his bloody mouth and roared towards the sky. His voice was so loud and indescribable that it spread for hundreds of miles. However, his roar stopped abruptly as if something was stuck in his throat. The black tiger's huge body staggered, and the fur on its head emitted white smoke. It was corroded by the venom left by Lin Yuan in the male wolf's corpse. Lin Yuan was overjoyed. He didn't think that things would progress so smoothly. It seemed that this black tiger was very confident in its own strength. It had bitten the male wolf's corpse to pieces without any probing. This was an even more perfect result than Lin Yuan had expected. Originally, Lin Yuan had injected venom into the male wolf's corpse in order to set up a simple trap. However, he didn't really expect this trap to work. It was only used to attract the black tiger's attention. In his original plan, the black tiger would definitely discover something fishy about the male wolf's corpse and become cautious. It would repeatedly probe the corpse and thus be unable to guard against the hidden Lin Yuan. Who knew that this black tiger would be so reckless? Without saying anything, it bit the male wolf's body to pieces, causing it to be poisoned. This would give Lin Yuan an absolute advantage in the following battle. It could be said that although the battle hadn't officially begun, victory was already in Lin Yuan's bag. With such a confident thought, Lin Yuan didn't hesitate. Now was a nearly perfect opportunity. In the instant that the black tiger staggered, he suddenly leapt out of the cave. Like a black bolt of lightning, he was even faster than the black tiger's speed by a bit. This was the advantage brought by a speed of 3.9. With a speed close to 4 points, it was already enough to look down on most level 3 demonic beasts. Lin Yuan opened his snake's mouth and bit the black tiger's throat. All the remaining venom in the poison gland was instantly emptied. At the same time, his huge body moved along the black tiger's neck and nimbly wrapped around the black tiger's waist. He was about to start strangling. Not only that, Lin Yuan was also constantly paying attention to the black tiger's terrifying front claws. Even with his current size and defense, he probably wouldn't be able to take a direct hit. Even if his entire waist wasn't torn apart, at least half of his muscle tissue would be torn apart. Even his internal organs wouldn't be spared. If that was the case, then he could only be slaughtered by the tiger. Seeing how easily the black tiger had torn apart the male wolf's corpse, Lin Yuan probably wouldn't be able to contend against it. Just as Lin Yuan was about to wrap around it, the black tiger finally reacted. The black tiger fiercely struggled, wanting to fling Lin Yuan away from its body. At the same time, it raised a pair of front claws and suddenly pressed towards Lin Yuan. That strength wasn't something that Lin Yuan could contend against. In just an instant, Lin Yuan had a feeling that he would be flung away. The black tiger's sudden burst of strength was too terrifying. Luckily, Lin Yuan was already prepared. Since his attack didn't hit, he immediately released his bite and turned around to avoid the black tiger's attack. At the same time, borrowing the movement of turning, his huge tail swept horizontally, bringing along a terrifying wind pressure. Like a steel whip, it swung onto the black tiger's head, making a terrifying dong sound. In just an instant, fresh blood seeped out of the black tiger's eyes and ears. Not only that, because it was hit on the head, it also caused the black tiger's overall movements to slow down. Lin Yuan used this opportunity to quickly get into position. He coiled around a huge rock and faced off with the black tiger, waiting for the other party's poison to take effect. The big black tiger shook its huge head, and its ferocious beast eyes regained clarity. Sparks seemed to flash in its wild eyes, which were filled with killing intent and ferocious aura, as it instantly stared at Lin Yuan. But this time, it didn't act rashly. Instead, it carefully lowered its body, lowered its shoulders and forelimbs, and raised its waist and abdomen, accumulating strength. Lin Yuan didn't doubt that if he took the initiative to rush up at this time, he would probably be killed by the other party's lightning speed. Those huge claws landing on the body was no joke. If it hit the head or 7 inches, it would definitely be able to instantly kill Lin Yuan, who was also a third-level monster beast. From this point, one could see the terrifying strength of the black tiger. Both sides faced off. Lin Yuan wasn't anxious at all, and didn't have the slightest intention of taking the initiative to attack. In a situation where the black tiger had been attacked by his own poison twice, Lin Yuan believed that the scales of victory would definitely lean towards his side. After an unknown period of time, the black tiger's fierce eyes finally changed at a certain moment, as if in a trance for a moment. Lin Yuan's heart jumped. Could it be that his poison had finally taken effect? Chapter 15. Before Lin Yuan could even react, the black tiger had already pounced over, bringing with it a sharp wind pressure as it swung its claw at him. However, at this distance, the black tiger should not have been able to hit him. But seeing the black tiger raise its huge front claw, Lin Yuan's heart was alarmed. Finally, at this critical moment, he instinctively dodged the seemingly unreachable claw. Wang! The sound of metal vibrating could be heard in the air as a formless chi blade shot out from the tiger's claw. With a thunderous momentum, it swept past Lin Yuan's sturdy body. Chi! Scales shattered, flesh and blood splattered everywhere. The scarlet blood was mixed with bits of white powder. Those were the bone fragments that had been scraped off by the chi blade. The chi blade did not lose its momentum as it cut through 2 thick trees before dispersing in the air, bringing with it a wave of chi. Damn it! Lin Yuan cursed in his heart. He did not expect the black tiger to have such a move. He had been careless. When he became a level 3 vicious beast, he had obtained the strangle skill. How could he have overlooked the trump cards of other demonic beasts? At this moment, he suddenly recalled the pale wild boar's stomp and the 2-headed gray eagle's hurricane. He understood that level 3 demonic beasts would probably awaken some unique skills. Fortunately, he had instinctively dodged. Otherwise, the chi blade would have cut him in half. The black tiger's attack power was not to be underestimated. But now was not the time to rejoice. The chi blade had just passed when the black tiger approached Lin Yuan. It raised its claw and swiped at him. How could Lin Yuan dare to face it head-on? He frantically twisted his body to dodge. But at this moment, the black tiger had already given up on defense and pushed its speed to its maximum. Even though Lin Yuan's speed was slightly faster than it, its huge body had become a burden, making it impossible for him to completely dodge this attack. Pooh! The sharp tiger claw tore open 3 terrifying, bloody wounds on its body, taking away large chunks of flesh. In the middle, Lin Yuan once again swung his tail to counterattack, hitting the black tiger's head once more. But at this time, the big black tiger seemed to have gone mad. It was unknown whether it was affected by the poison, but its eyes had turned blood red. Dark red, filthy blood mixed with an unknown liquid dripped from its mouth, corroding the ground until it was full of holes. Lin Yuan did not dare to continue fighting. After slightly blocking the black tiger's attack and dodging another chi blade, he turned and fled. He planned to use this method to stall for time and wait for his poison to fully take effect. How could the black tiger let him escape? It immediately chased after him. A tiger and a snake tangled together as they ran. The surrounding forest was immediately affected. Trees toppled and boulders shattered. Some animals and even ferocious beasts that could not escape in time were affected, either buried by the snake's tail or torn to shreds by the chi blades. In the middle of this, Lin Yuan also received many system notifications and received many attribute points. But at this moment, he was not in the mood to check them. He was only focused on the battle before him. He did not know how long the battle went on. Lin Yuan was only dealing with the black tiger's every attack, at the same time seizing every opportunity to counterattack. At a certain moment, the pressure around him completely disappeared, and the frenzied attacks finally slowed down. A chi blade slashed past, hitting the scales on Lin Yuan's back. But this time, the chi blade, which had always been successful, did not even cut through Lin Yuan's scales. Lin Yuan finally turned around, his cold eyes staring at the black tiger as he dangerously flicked out his tongue. He knew that at this moment, victory had already arrived. The current Lin Yuan could be said to be a tragic sight. It seemed like there was not a single scale on his body that was intact. His entire body was bathed in blood. With his size, who knew how much blood he had lost? The surrounding light gradually dimmed. In the western sky, a bright red setting sun scattered down a beautiful sunset glow, illuminating the clouds in the western sky as if they were on fire. The black tiger's current condition was also not good. It did not know when, but one of its eyes had been blinded. Its entire eye socket seemed to have been hit by a huge hammer. It should have been hit directly by Lin Yuan's tyrannical tail sweep. The black tiger panted violently, blood gushing out of its mouth and nose almost constantly. There was also more and more foul fluid mixed with it. Lin Yuan also realized that this was the black tiger's bodily fluid that had been affected by his own poison. The black tiger's thick forelimbs were still bulging with muscles, and the outline was clear. However, that hidden explosive power had already left its body. Roar! The black tiger unwillingly roared at Lin Yuan. The blood in its mouth was shaken away, turning into a scarlet mist that spread out, bringing with it an indescribable ferocity and dominance. Lin Yuan was on guard against the desperate battle of this ferocious beast. He cautiously coiled his body. Just when he thought that the black tiger was about to rush over, he did not expect that this fellow would actually turn around and flee into the dense forest without hesitation, quickly disappearing into the distance. Lin Yuan was stunned, almost unable to react. Soon after, a mocking smile appeared in his eyes. Escape? Do you think you can escape? Chapter 16. In the evening, the sunset glow of the western sky burned like fire. A flock of birds flew across the sky, happily returning to their nests. Everything was quiet and serene. After a sharp cry, the leading bird suddenly fell from the sky. Its body was cut in half, falling to the ground like a leaf in the wind. The flock of birds panicked for a moment, then quickly regrouped and continued flying as before. The big black tiger unleashed its last wind blade. Its fleeing speed was already extremely slow. Even the dense forest, which was its main battlefield, was now giving it trouble. The countless shrubs seemed to have transformed into invisible hands, dragging it down and slowing it down again and again. and the persistent cold aura behind it made it feel even more hopeless. At a certain moment, it finally stopped and slowly lay down in a soft shrub. There was not a single piece of undamaged fur on its body, and its body was covered in blood. Not long after, Lin Yuan, who had followed the scent, appeared. He had recovered from his condition. Most of the wounds on his body had closed up and he was no longer bleeding. Seeing the big black tiger lying there, he did not rashly approach to attack. He still could not forget the scene of the pale wild boar approaching the big green wolf. If he rashly approached and was bitten by the big black tiger, he might even be dragged to the grave with it. After thinking for a moment, Lin Yuan's huge tail curled and he casually picked up a hard boulder and threw it at the big black tiger. The boulder exploded, sending debris flying everywhere. On the big black tiger's head, there were more injuries on top of its injuries, but there was no more blood flowing out. The blood in its body had almost been completely drained during the chase. Only the filthy liquid that represented Lin Yuan's venom seeped out of its wounds. After this simple and crude test, Lin Yuan could more or less determine that the big black tiger was really an arrow at the end of its flight. However, he still did not continue to approach it. He only lingered in the surroundings, patiently waiting for the system's prompt. When the sun completely set below the horizon, the big black tiger that had been on the verge of death suddenly opened its eyes. Those eyes were overflowing with a fierce light, filled with unwillingness and despair. It suddenly roared and its body suddenly rushed forward, wanting to pounce at Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan seemed to have expected this. These cunning fellows indeed had the strength to resist. They had been accumulating their strength and waiting for Lin Yuan to step forward. Unfortunately, Lin Yuan was overly cautious. Facing the black tiger's final attack of despair, Lin Yuan dealt with it with ease. He did not need to do anything else. With a sweep of his giant tail, he once again struck the black tiger's head. Ever since the start of the battle, Lin Yuan had lost count of how many times he had struck his opponent's head. Each time, it was as if he had struck an indestructible steel wall. But this time was different. The big black tiger's body suddenly stopped. Its limbs went soft and it fell to the ground. It no longer had the strength to struggle. Ding! At the same time, the system notification that Lin Yuan had been waiting for arrived. Successfully killed a level 3 demonic beast. Obtained 1 attribute point. Lin Yuan spat out his tongue and observed his gains from this battle. Not only did he obtain this 1 attribute point, but there were also the attribute points that he had unexpectedly obtained from the previous battle. At this moment, Lin Yuan's undistributed attribute points had reached a whopping 2. Previously, Lin Yuan did not pay too much attention to the existences that he had killed during the battle with the black tiger. Now that he thought about it carefully, even a few level 2 demonic beasts had been implicated. As a result, the total attribute points that he had obtained in the end had actually exceeded the points that he had obtained from killing the black tiger. Raising his head to look at the bright moon hanging in the sky, Lin Yuan felt a little emotional. This battle had lasted for almost an entire day. Although it was not the most thrilling battle since he had transmigrated, it was definitely the longest battle so far. Lin Yuan had also used all of his abilities to barely hold on. After thinking for a moment, Lin Yuan distributed the 1 attribute points he had. 0. One of them went to speed, and the remaining 2 points went to attack and defense. Just like that, Lin Yuan's attribute points changed again. Host, Lin Yuan status, Big Black Snake, Evolvable, Realm, 4 out of 10 talent. 1. Identify the enemy's position through smell. 2. Create an accurate image of a 500-meter radius around the body through smell. Speed, 4 defense, 4 attack, 4 distributable points, 0 martial arts, golden body secret art technique, strangle technique, poison strengthen. After adding the attribute points, he directly reached the level of a level 4 demonic beast. The wounds all over his body seemed to have undergone a baptism, healing one after another. His body could be seen growing once again. His size had officially broken through the 50-foot barrier. He was already a true giant. Even among demonic beasts of the same level, this size could be said to be outstanding. At the moment of leveling up, Lin Yuan suddenly felt something in his heart. He raised his head to look at the sky. At this moment, the stars suddenly dimmed, and the huge clear moon was actually slowly dyed with a layer of crimson. The moment he saw the full moon turn crimson, Lin Yuan's mind seemed to be swept by a storm. It wanted to take away all of his reason and immerse his entire soul in madness and wildness, turning him into the most primitive killing monster. At the moment when Lin Yuan's consciousness was about to completely lose control, a comfortable coolness suddenly spread out in his mind, helping Lin Yuan resist the crazily rising desire to kill in his consciousness. The system's cold voice instantly sounded. At this moment, Lin Yuan felt that there was nothing in the world more beautiful than this sound. Ding! Triggered temporary mission, mutated moon. Mission, mutated moon. For unknown reasons, the sky has changed. The pure white moonlight has been dyed with crimson blood. All demonic beasts bathed in the crimson moonlight will go through a test of willpower. If they pass, they will be rewarded with 1 attribute point. If they fail, they will lose their reason and go completely crazy. They will exhaust their chi and blood and die. Tonight, the forest is destined to be soaked in blood. Can you pass the test and live through the night to welcome the sunrise? Mission completion reward. At sunrise, you will receive a specific reward according to your score. Ding! Congratulations to host for passing through the erosion of the crimson moon phenomenon. You have received 1 attribute point. Lin Yuan regained his senses. The crimson moon in the sky did not seem to have much effect on him. However, he could still feel the rage and desire to kill rising in his heart. He was able to pass the test just now mostly because of luck. The system helped him stabilize his mind at the end. He did not know if this was considered cheating, but since the system had rewarded him with attribute points, it should also allow this kind of behavior. Roar, boo, ao. The entire forest was in a riot at this moment. Although Lin Yuan passed the test, who knew how many demonic beasts did not pass the test? Under the illumination of the crimson moon, they had completely lost their minds and turned into terrifying monsters that only knew how to kill. At this moment, the entire forest was filled with all kinds of terrifying roars and howls. Chapter 17. In the sky, a bright scarlet full moon hung high in the sky. The stars had already dimmed, and not a single bit of starlight could be seen. In the vast primitive forest, there were all sorts of terrifying beasts roaring and howling. The smell of blood permeated the air, and a faint scarlet mist shrouded the forest, turning it into a bloody battlefield. Roar! A pair of huge golden spot leopards suddenly leapt out of the forest. Their eyes were white, and their pupils could not be seen. Their murky eyes were mixed with large amounts of scarlet blood vessels as they pounced towards Lin Yuan in a frenzy. They've really gone mad. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes dangerously. He lightly spat out a message and sensed his surroundings. Everything within 500 meters of him was clearly visible in his mind. This golden spot leopard was only a class 2 demonic beast, but it was actually crazy enough to attack Lin Yuan, who was now a class 4 demonic beast. It couldn't be any crazier. Lin Yuan didn't care too much about this weak guy. He swept his giant tail at will and whipped it toward the golden spotted leopard. His current attack had reached 4 points, which was not weaker than the previous big black tiger. He was confident that with this blow, he could directly break the limbs of this crazy golden spotted leopard. Boom! The huge tail landed, and a large tree was struck. The branches and leaves swayed as they were struck down, and large amounts of soil and gravel were sent flying. However, Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly turned cold, because this attack had missed. The golden spot leopard was extremely fast. Although it had gone completely mad, it was still extremely agile in battle. After dodging Lin Yuan's huge tail, it slammed its claws into the soft scales on Lin Yuan's abdomen, causing a few deep wounds. At the same time, it opened its mouth and bit towards Lin Yuan. Hiss! Lin Yuan was furious. He did not think that a moment of carelessness would cause him to be injured by this crazy golden spot leopard. He did not dare to be careless anymore. With a sweep of his huge tail, his speed had also exceeded 4 points. Even though he was huge, he was still incomparably fast. He easily wrapped around the golden spot leopard and activated strangulation, crushing this crazy beast into pieces. Crackle! The sound of bones breaking rang out continuously. When Lin Yuan released the tail, the skin of the golden-spotted leopard was still intact, but the bones, blood, and muscles inside had been crushed by a huge and violent force. The leopard's entire state was like a bulging water bag. Lin Yuan casually tossed the body of the golden-spotted leopard aside and received a system notification. Ding! Killed a level 2 demonic beast. Obtained 0.1 attribute points. Obtained 1 mission point. Killing a class 2 demonic beast only gave him 0.1 attribute point. Lin Yuan sighed in his heart. From the looks of it, killing a class 2 demonic beast and below would not give him any reward. After leveling up to a class 4 demonic beast, the difficulty of obtaining attribute points had increased by quite a bit. The entire forest had become crazy, and there was almost no safe place. Lin Yuan originally wanted to find a place to hide temporarily and wait until the night was over. But in the end, he found that there was nowhere to hide. Looking at the mission point that he had just obtained, Lin Yuan finally decided to take the initiative to attack. Now that the forest was shrouded in the blood-red moonlight, although it was dangerous, it was also accompanied by opportunities. Not to mention the mission reward, under the blood-red moonlight, many strange treasures had appeared one after another. For example, Lin Yuan spat out a message and sensed that about 1,000 meters in front of him, a spiritual grass had broken out of the ground, exuding a strong medicinal power. It was even stronger than the cloud rainflower that Lin Yuan had swallowed previously. Lin Yuan's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately rushed over. This was the first time that Lin Yuan had used his 4 points of speed without any interference. The distance of 1,000 meters was covered in just 5 breaths of time, and he had already reached the area where the spiritual grass was. At the same time, he also felt that several other tyrannical auras were rapidly approaching. Lin Yuan observed the surrounding situation, and found that the spiritual grass was actually growing inside a huge green round stone. The surface of the green round stone was extremely smooth, with a slight jade-like texture. The spiritual grass had broken out of the solid stone and was bathed in the blood-red moonlight. Its branches and leaves swayed gently, dancing with the gentle mountain breeze, as if it had a spirit. But it discovered a high-grade cold stone grass. The system's voice sounded in a timely manner, and at the same time, it introduced the cold stone grass. The cold stone grass seed needs to experience 1,000 years before it can germinate. After the grass leaves the mother plant, it will fly with the wind to the 9 heavens, and after 10 years of absorbing the sun and moon's brilliance, it will fall to the ground. After landing, it will form a unique barrier around it and slowly gather spiritual energy to envelop itself. After 1,000 years, the rich spiritual energy will turn into a huge cold stone, and the grass will sprout in the center of the cold stone once every 10 years, until it breaks through the cold stone and matures. Gotcha. As the frigid stone grass broke the huge frigid stone, the frigid stone itself let out a crisp cracking sound. From the center of the frigid stone, a green paste-like liquid seeped out, mixed with a rich spirit energy that rolled endlessly like a vast river. It almost enveloped an area of 10 miles in thick spirit energy. This spiritual energy turned into a light green whirlpool that was almost visible to the naked eye, and in the center of it was the cold stone grass that was still sprouting. The system's voice sounded again. In another 15 minutes, the cold stone grass will completely mature, and at that time, it will turn into countless grass seeds and float with the wind to the 9 heavens. Warning: the cold stone grass can only be picked at the moment of maturity and when it turns into grass seeds, otherwise, it will cause the cold stone grass to wither. 15 minutes. Lin Yuan paid attention to the condition of the cold stone grass. At the same time, 3 frenzied figures rushed over: a forest elephant with 4 huge tusks, a green rhinoceros, and a huge black bear. Lin Yuan slightly sensed that the forest elephant, which was much bigger than him, had already reached the level of a class 4 demonic beast. The rhinoceros and the black bear were both Class 3 demonic beasts, but their auras were much stronger than normal Class 3 demonic beasts. They were probably already on the verge of Class 4. The black bear's eyes had already turned white, and it was obvious that it had lost its mind and was lost in the blood moon. Therefore, once it appeared, it did not stop and immediately rushed towards the four-tusk forest elephant, which seemed to be the strongest and the most threatening. Lin Yuan and the rhinoceros were in a stalemate. Lin Yuan was the first to arrive. His body was long enough to wrap around the entire cold stone. He was like a mother hen protecting her chick, coiling around the cold stone and waiting for the moment the cold stone grass matured. Moo! The big rhinoceros uneasily pawed its front hooves, and its small eyes were overflowing with light as they stared at Lin Yuan. At the same time, it also paid attention to the cold stone grass. At a certain moment, it lowered its body, like an armored chariot, and rushed over with a rumble. Its power was enough to split a mountain. Under normal circumstances, Lin Yuan would definitely not choose to clash with such a powerful rhinoceros. However, at this moment he was coiled around the cold stone, and there was no way for him to retreat. He could only face it head-on. Chapter 18. Boom! The gigantic black python and the majestic green rhinoceros collided, creating a shockwave. If any demonic beast below rank 2 were to approach this shockwave, they would probably be torn to shreds. Pooh! Lin Yuan felt that his entire body was about to fall apart from the impact. The scales on his body were shattered, and blood flowed out. Fortunately, he was able to stop the green rhinoceros's momentum. He lowered his head and bit the green rhinoceros's soft nose. His fangs immediately extended and injected venom into him. At the same time, he wrapped his body around the green rhinoceros. When facing Lin Yuan's venom, the green rhinoceros's resistance was far inferior to the black tiger's. In almost an instant, Lin Yuan could feel its strength decreasing. Lin Yuan was ecstatic. He crazily tightened every muscle in his body. Under the twofold increase in strength, the green rhinoceros's sturdy leather armor was squeezed out of shape. The sound of bones and organs breaking could be heard from its body. Large puddles of dark red blood seeped out of its mouth and nose. In less than 15 minutes, the green rhinoceros was finished off by Lin Yuan. The system notified him that he received 1 attribute point and 5 mission points. When he raised his head, he saw that the Lin Xiang had suddenly raised its mountain-like body. Its huge tusks were like huge spears, directly piercing through the big black bear. It didn't even have the chance to struggle before it died. Lin Yuan let go of the green rhinoceros. He stuck out his tongue and was on guard against the Lin Xiang. The four-tusked Lin Xiang raised its long trunk and let out a loud and clear cry. The cry had a strange tremor, as if it fell on his heart, causing his blood to surge. Lin Yuan didn't doubt that under the Lin Xiang's roar, even a slightly weaker rank 2 demonic beast wouldn't be able to withstand it. Their heart would be directly shattered. Pooh! The Lin Xiang swung its long trunk and snorted. Its eyes were extremely clear. Lin Yuan looked into those eyes and felt that he wasn't facing a Lin Xiang, but a wise old man. Hiss! In his nervousness, Lin Yuan actually opened his mouth and bared his fangs. The venom on his fangs dripped down and landed on the rhinoceros's sturdy leather armor. In an instant, holes were corroded in the leather armor that even blades and swords could not damage. In the face of Lin Yuan's provocation, Lin Xiang was indifferent and did not intend to rush up. Lin Yuan recalled that when he was fighting with the big rhinoceros just now with Lin Xiang's strength, he was definitely able to finish off the big black bear faster, and then attack him while the big rhinoceros was still alive, but he did not know why this seemingly very spiritual four-tusked giant elephant did not do so. At this moment, Lin Xiang actually slowly laid down on the ground and gently gazed at Lin Yuan. He had no intention of snatching the cold stone grass. Lin Yuan was puzzled. What was going on? At the same time, he felt several more terrifying figures rushing over. Clearly, there were more powerful existences that had also sensed the cold stone grass. It was just that they were a bit further away and had only just arrived. The four-tusked Lin Xiang was still calm and unhurried. It was as if he was resting after eating and drinking. He even used his long trunk to poke at the surrounding shrubs and picked out some delicious-looking berries to slowly chew. Lin Yuan was about to explode from anger, but he also didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If both sides could communicate, Lin Yuan would have formed an alliance with the other party and then faced the incoming powerful enemies together. But clearly, there was no way for them to communicate. Lin Yuan was now a black python. Generally speaking, he should be a cold-blooded animal and couldn't sweat. Lin Yuan had never sweated in any situation since he transmigrated. But at this moment, he felt that his head was definitely covered in cold sweat. Seeing that the cold stone grass was about to mature, those dangerous auras had finally arrived. The first to appear in front of Lin Yuan was a six-eyed lion covered in gold. It had 3 tails and 4 claws. Its entire body emitted a faint golden radiance. The moment he saw it, Lin Yuan almost despaired. It definitely had the strength of a level 5 monster beast. At this moment, Lin Yuan had the idea of turning around and running away. But at this moment, the cold stone grass matured. Ding! The system's prompt sounded, indicating that the cold stone grass could be picked. It was just a fleeting opportunity. Lin Yuan had been waiting for this moment. So almost without thinking, he lowered his head and gently held the seemingly delicate flower in his mouth. Pop! With a slight tremor, the cold stone flower was picked by Lin Yuan the moment it matured. A powerful force spread out. Lin Yuan instantly felt a chill from the bottom of his heart. It was as if his heart had been grabbed by the Grim Reaper. The feeling of death was closer than ever. Lin Yuan subconsciously looked at Lin Xiang and the golden lion over there. He found that they didn't make any movements and let him pick the cold stone grass. At the same time, 2 white wolves, who were obviously his companions, and a red-scaled python, whose body was even larger than Lin Yuan, arrived at the same time. They didn't wait in the distance like Lin Xiang and the golden lion. Instead, they crazily rushed towards Lin Yuan. Among them, the red-scaled python's eyes were red. It was obviously affected by the blood moon. Seeing this scene, Lin Yuan almost didn't have to think. He turned around and ran. His speed instantly increased to the limit. At the same time, he raised his head and was about to swallow the cold stone grass in his mouth. But at this moment, the system's prompt sounded. The message was so abrupt that Lin Yuan's escape speed was uncontrollably affected and slowed down. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a mature cold stone grass. You have triggered the mission, the grass in the mouth. Mission, grass in the mouth. The mature cold stone grass will carry a deadly poison 24 hours after being plucked. It can kill any demonic beast below LV10. Although you've obtained it, who knows if it's a good thing? Perhaps standing aside and watching was a better choice, but it's too late to say anything now. Can you guard this divine grass that can directly increase the level of any demonic beast below LV10 for 24 hours? Friendly reminder, sometimes you can choose to destroy something you can't get in order to prevent others from getting it. The system prompt was directly imprinted in Lin Yuan's mind, so such a large piece of information only took him a breath to understand. However, after understanding the reason, he looked at Lin Xiang and the golden lion who still didn't move. He suddenly felt that he had been cheated. The brilliance in the eyes of the 2 guys was gradually dyed with a strong sense of ridicule. Although Lin Yuan was affected for a moment, he quickly regained his consciousness. At this time, the white wolves had already approached Lin Yuan, and their claws and teeth left several wounds on Lin Yuan's body. Lin Yuan thought quickly. At this time, he absolutely couldn't be entangled. He gritted his teeth and suddenly rushed in the direction of Lin Xiang. Chapter 19. As Lin Yuan turned and rushed in the direction of Lin Xiang and Jin Shi, the speed of the white wolves slowed down slightly, but the speed of the red python did not slow down at all. It was still closely chasing after Lin Yuan. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yuan had rushed in front of Lin Xiang. After getting closer, he realized that this terrifying Lin Xiang's size was simply appalling, making Lin Yuan feel extremely pressured. If he had met this Lin Xiang before he was promoted to a level 4 monster beast, let alone resist, he would not even be able to move under the deterrence of the other party's imposing manner. Lin Yuan's eyes flashed with the brilliance of fighting for his life. He looked into Lin Xiang's eyes and understood why this guy and Jin Shi did not make a move. They must have known the special effect of the cold stone grass, so they were not in a hurry to pick it and left it for him. At this moment, Lin Yuan wished he could directly spit the cold stone grass in Lin Xiang's face, but after thinking about it, he decided not to. With Lin Xiang's strength, he could certainly keep this grass. Even if he destroyed it, he would not let these guys get away with it. The system was still reasonable in this regard. The four-fang giant Lin Xiang did not seem to have expected Lin Yuan to rush directly. Although it had reached the level of a level 5 monster beast and had unlocked its spiritual wisdom, it could not remain so rational in the face of an unexpected situation. Lin Yuan was different. Rushing towards Lin Xiang seemed to be abruptly courting death, but he had already anticipated his escape route. The most important point was that Jin Shi would never let the cold stone grass fall into Lin Xiang's mouth. Roar! Sure enough, before the red python and the white wolves behind him could catch up, the golden lion, which was exuding a faint golden brilliance and looked unusually handsome, had already moved. The mane on its neck vibrated, and a little golden light scattered like debris and dissipated in the air. This movement suddenly carried the aura of the 9 heavens sunfall, which was unstoppable like a sunrise. It was right between Lin Yuan and Lin Xiang. The distance between the three was very close. Lin Xiang's tusks were almost touching Jin Shi's skin. It seemed that as long as it raised its head, its huge white and sharp tusks could directly penetrate Jin Shi. Hiss! However, Lin Xiang didn't choose to attack with his tusks. Instead, he swung his trunk to repel the golden lion. At the same time, he raised his legs and stomped on the ground. Suddenly, the earth shook as if there was an earthquake. Sharp stalagmites broke out of the ground around Lin Yuan. If it weren't for his nimble body and fast speed, he would have been directly pierced by these stalagmites and nailed to the ground, allowing himself to be slaughtered. The golden lion was not to be outdone. It opened its mouth and spat out a huge stream of flames. It looked extremely majestic. The stream of flames seemed to have a spirit of its own. It turned into a flaming whirlwind and almost wrapped up the hill like Lin Xiang. Lin Yuan had no doubt that if he were in Lin Yuan's position, he would have been burnt to a crisp within a breath of time. This was because even the scattered sparks could easily burn through the sturdy scales on Lin Yuan's body. Then, a fierce battle broke out between the two fierce Class 5 monster beasts. Lin Yuan wandered through the dangerous stalagmites and the flaming whirlwind. Miraculously, he passed through the layers of encirclement and ran wildly in one direction. Unlike Lin Yuan, the red python that had been following closely behind Lin Yuan was directly penetrated by countless stalagmites. It was nailed to the ground, unable to move. It struggled desperately, but the results were minimal. There was almost no hope of escape. Suddenly, Lin Xiang let out a long cry that shook the forest. A wave of air spread out in the air, and the flaming whirlwind was directly scattered. One of the scattered streams of flames fell on the red python. In the blink of an eye, the crazy monster beast that had lost its mind due to the influence of the blood moon was burned into a charred skeleton. Lin Yuan rejoiced in his heart. He knew that he was able to rush out because Lin Xiang and the Golden Lion's intelligence was not enough to predict this degree of change. Secondly, they were afraid of each other and didn't go all out. Thirdly, they were still worried about the safety of the cold stone grass in his mouth, so they didn't focus their attacks on him. Otherwise, if any of them made a move on him, he wouldn't have been able to escape. Behind him, the battle between Lin Xiang and the Golden Lion was getting more and more intense. In the distance, monstrous flames ignited, and the earth shook all the time. Soon after, a fierce forest fire burned. At the same time, the pair of white wolves also caught up. These two guys cooperated tacitly, one on the left and one on the right. They chased after Lin Yuan in an arc, wanting to surround him. However, they obviously underestimated Lin Yuan's flexibility and speed in the forest. The distance between the two sides gradually widened after closing in. The two white wolves were telepathic. Seeing that they couldn't catch up with Lin Yuan in this way, they could only change their strategy. They converged and chased closely behind Lin Yuan. The next competition was endurance. Whichever side slowed down first would lose the opportunity. Keep running. Keep running. Everything around him was constantly passing by. Lin Yuan almost forgot why he was running. He only knew that he had to run with all his strength. The blazing flames behind him illuminated the road ahead, making the dark forest a little brighter. He held the cold stone grass in his mouth, restraining the urge to swallow it directly. He looked at the mission timer on the system panel. Less than half an hour had passed. He almost despaired. He spat out a letter to explore the surroundings. Since the pair of white wolves changed their strategy, they had been hanging behind him at a distance of 500 meters. It was just the distance that his detection inherent skill could show. He didn't know when Lin Xiang and the Golden Lion would catch up, or if they would catch up after the winner was decided. If Lin Xiang and the Golden Lion were just probing each other and then catching up, Lin Yuan decided that he could only choose to destroy the cold stone grass under the competition between the two Class 5 monster beasts. After running for a while, the water vapor in the air became heavier. Lin Yuan spat out a letter and found a river not far away. He suddenly felt that the opportunity had come. He could go underwater. His speed underwater was faster than in the forest, and the two white wolves wouldn't be able to catch up so easily. Lin Yuan rushed in the direction of the river. When he rushed through a bush, he was already prepared. Bang! A huge splash of water appeared, and a huge 15-meter-long black python rushed into the river. Lin Yuan heard the unwilling howls of the white wolves behind him. He sensed that they were continuing to pursue him along the river bank. Lin Yuan sneered in his heart. His eyes flashed with a dangerous light. He had a plan in mind. He slowly floated to the surface of the water and swam slowly. The white wolves also seemed to sense something. They slowed down and were on guard against the river. Lin Yuan was slightly taken aback. He originally wanted to launch a surprise attack under the cover of the river, but he didn't expect the perception of these two white wolves to be so strong. He was underwater, but the other party could still perceive him so clearly. What should he do? Chapter 20. As a last resort, Lin Yuan could only speed up again, following the river and waiting for a better opportunity to launch a surprise attack. He could not stop for too long, as the vibration and forest fire behind him were gradually approaching. Obviously, it was impossible to determine the winner between Lin Xiang and the Golden Lion, and they would not give up the idea of chasing Lin Yuan. After all, the cold stone grass was a fatal temptation to any demon beast below level 10, and the opportunity to directly advance to level 10 was worth risking their lives for. In the process of chasing the two wolves, Lin Yuan also tried to launch a surprise attack from the bottom of the water several times, but the white wolf's perception ability was not there. Other than causing some insignificant damage, there was no substantial result. Therefore, Lin Yuan decided to stop entangling with the white wolves and swim away in the water with all his strength, immediately pulling away from the two wolves. However, at this moment, a sudden change occurred. The white wolves, seeing that they could not catch up with Lin Yuan, actually jumped into the river. Lin Yuan was shocked. He spat out a message to sense the situation and found that the pair of white wolves had been affected by the blood moon unknowingly. They had lost their rationality at the same time. His reaction of accelerating to escape just now had become the last straw that crushed their rationality. The two wolves jumped into the river at the same time, and their speed was not slow after following the current. Since they had such speed in the water, why didn't they catch up just now? As soon as the idea came out, Lin Yuan understood that their fighting power in the water must be greatly affected, so they did not dare to go into the water to chase him. Lin Yuan understood. Looking at the two wolves who had lost their minds, a trace of ferocity flashed through his snake eyes. He himself did not know that after being promoted to level 4, his expression seemed to be a lot more vivid, and he no longer looked like a cold-blooded snake without the slightest change. The two wolves had already caught up. Lin Yuan carefully sensed the vibration that seemed to be far away, and secretly thought in his heart, It's not too late. The moment this thought flashed through his mind, he returned to his body almost without thinking, and spat out the cold stone grass from his mouth. Seeing this scene, the two white wolves suddenly became crazier, one pouncing on the cold stone grass, and the other pouncing on Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan seemed to have expected this. Seeing the two wolves go completely crazy and become beasts that only knew how to rely on their physical strength, this was the purpose of him spitting out the cold stone grass. Pooh! Lin Yuan nimbly dodged the attack and bit down on the throat of the white wolf that was pouncing towards him. He extended his fangs and injected the remaining venom into the opponent's body. Immediately, the white wolf trembled and lost its strength. Black blood seeped out of its nose and mouth. Although these two white wolves were level 4 demon beasts, their strength was obviously insufficient. Their resistance to Lin Yuan's poison was also very weak. If they joined forces, coupled with their cunning wisdom, it would naturally be difficult to determine who would win against Lin Yuan. However, they had lost their minds and were separated. Naturally, they were easily dealt with by Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan didn't care about the life or death of this white wolf. He stretched out his body and once again held the cold stone grass floating in the river in his mouth. The remaining white wolves desperately pounced on Lin Yuan, but Lin Yuan easily entangled their bodies. Under the water, his movements were more flexible and changeable, free and easy. The moment he entangled the white wolves, the strangulation had already been activated. A huge burst of power broke out. The weak white wolves, whose bodies were less than 10 feet long, were instantly strangled by Lin Yuan. Scarlet blood dyed the river red. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing 2 white wolves. You have gained 2 attribute points. Received the mission. Mutated Moon, 10 points. Current total mission points, 16. Lin Yuan didn't have time to look at it. He casually divided the 2 points into attack and speed. Feeling the vibration that had already approached him, he immediately followed the river and went far away. At the darkest moment before dawn, Lin Yuan looked at his status panel. Host, Lin Yuan status, Big Black Snake, can evolve, Realm, 4 out of 10 talent. 1. Identify the enemy's position by smell. 2. Form an accurate image of the body within 500 meters by smell. Speed, 5 defense, 4 attack, 5 allocable points, 0 martial arts, golden body secret skills, strangulation skills, enhanced venom mission, mutated moon, current mission points, 16 temporary mission, the grass in the mouth, mission countdown, 1 hour already close to the state of a level 5 monster beast. Lin Yuan suddenly had an idea. He wanted to hunt a level 4 monster beast and promote to a level 5 monster beast. In this way, under the attack of Lin Xiang and Golden Lion, he could better protect the cold stone grass. He also didn't need to rush to eat the cold stone grass to promote. He could keep it for later use. Ding! Just when Lin Yuan came up with this idea, the system prompt sounded. Activated special mission, Greedy Heart. Mission requirements. While keeping the cold stone grass, kill all the hunters. Mission reward, 3 attribute points, a chance to draw a skill. Mission failure penalty, deduct the current level by 1, and randomly delete a obtained ability. Chow! Lin Yuan cursed from the bottom of his heart. That thought just now was just a thought that suddenly flashed in the bottom of his heart. It was just like when you see a beautiful girl on the street and suddenly think of the name of your child with her. It was just a fleeting thought. You know that it is impossible and unrealistic. But at this time, the system actually turned Lin Yuan's flash of thought into a mission, and for the first time, it added a failure penalty to the mission. At this moment, Lin Yuan even felt that the system wanted to kill him and then find another host. But there was no other way. At this point, Lin Yuan could only choose to complete the mission. First of all, he had no way to resist the system. Second, he could accept the punishment of deducting a level by failing the mission, but he couldn't accept the punishment of deleting an ability. If the golden body secrets were deleted, Lin Yuan wouldn't be able to cry even if he wanted to. Moreover, in this situation, even if he was a class 4 demonic beast, he would almost certainly die. If he failed the mission, Even if he had the cold stone grass, he would still not be able to fight against Lin Xiang and the Golden Lion while maintaining Class 4. Lin Yuan thought crazily, thinking about the way to advance at this moment. He only needed one more attribute point to advance to a level 5 monster beast. When he thought about this, he spread out his perception and madly spat out information, hoping to find a hunting target. Then he felt a fierce aura quickly approaching him from the bottom of the water. The speed was simply appalling. It was definitely more than level 6. Lin Yuan's heart thumped. Was it another level 5 or level 6 monster beast? At this moment, Lin Yuan fell into a dangerous situation with a pursuer behind him and a tiger in front of him. The vibration behind him was getting clearer and clearer. The river seemed to have a little hot aura. Occasionally, he could hear the shocking roar that tore through the air. This meant that Lin Xiang and the Golden Lion were getting closer and closer. Chapter 21. Before he could react, the fast aura in front of him was already approaching. After getting closer, Lin Yuan saw the petite body and was stunned for a moment. It turned out to be an otter with a body length of less than 4 feet and just over 1 meter. From Lin Yuan's own perception, it seemed to be only a level 4 demonic beast. The otter's eyes were already white, obviously affected by the crimson moon. Lin Yuan didn't have time to think. The other party was probably attracted by the aura of the chilling stone grass that Lin Yuan spat out. In the face of this attribute, there was no reason to not take it. This otter was very fast and small, so it was very difficult to catch. But at this moment, it had lost its mind and was crazily rushing towards Lin Yuan. So Lin Yuan easily wrapped it with his tail. Without even using strangulation, the otter was directly killed. Ding! Congratulations to host for killing level 4 monster otter. Gained 1 attribute point. Ding! You have gained 1 point from the mission of the mutated moon. Current total points, 17. Lin Yuan gained 1 attribute point. This was actually a level 4 monster, but its speed was twice as fast as other attributes. If it was in normal times, with this speed, this otter would definitely not be afraid of any level 6 monster. After all, if it couldn't beat it, it could run. Lin Yuan gained 1 attribute point at the most critical moment. His heart was wild with joy, and he added this valuable attribute point to defense. Suddenly, he felt a different kind of power diffusing out of his body, baptizing every muscle and bone in his body, making him stronger, and then there was no and then. This was the feeling of adding a normal attribute point. He didn't even become a level 5 monster. System, what's going on? Under the shock, Lin Yuan didn't have time to think. He continued to run forward, and at the same time began to question the system. After not getting a response, Lin Yuan calmed down a little. He sensed his mind and was suddenly scared out of his wits. Just now, under the extreme shock, he was affected by the crimson moon and almost lost his mind. Fortunately, he was able to resist the influence and now he was able to recover. After the delay, the distance between the 2 level 5 monsters behind him was greatly shortened. Lin Yuan subconsciously looked at the attribute panel. After running for the whole night, he hoped that he could survive the last 2 hours. But he still didn't understand why he didn't become a level 5 monster. The doubts in his heart became heavier and heavier. At a moment, the system gave a prompt. Ding, host, please note, before level 5 monster, every level up requires 3 attribute points. From level 5 onwards, every level requires 1 attribute point. Lin Yuan pondered this sentence and suddenly had an impulse to curse. There were too many things that didn't go well tonight. According to the system, from level 5 onwards, every level required 1 attribute point. From level 4 to level 5, it required 4 attribute points, from level 5 to level 6, and so on. He still needed 1 attribute point, but at this time, there seemed to be no monsters nearby, at least there were no monsters in the river. Lin Yuan didn't dare to go ashore at this time. Once he went ashore, his speed would be affected, and the distance between the 2 sides would be shortened in a very short time. Now Lin Yuan could only think of one way, and that was to delay until sunrise, when the mission of the Crimson Moon was completed. At that time, he might be able to get one attribute point, so he could smoothly be promoted to level 5 and fight with Lin Xiang and Jin Shi. Time passed by, and Lin Yuan suddenly felt the speed of the water flow increase. He didn't think much about it, and he was a little glad in his heart. Following the flow, he sped up his speed. He continued to move forward, and then he felt the water flow become out of control. He wasn't swimming in the water, but the water flow was carrying him forward. Lin Yuan was anxious, but he didn't panic. He calmly released his perception, and then he knew the reason. It was a waterfall. Less than 500 meters in front of him was a big waterfall. At the same time, Lin Yuan found something even more incredible. The river he was in was just a small tributary, and he was now being pulled by the suction force of the waterfall into the wide main river. Floating on the water, Lin Yuan didn't need to look back. He knew that Lin Xiang and Jin Shi had caught up with him. He gritted his teeth and gave the control of his body to the river. Even if he fell into the waterfall, it was better than facing Jin Shi and Lin Xiang here. Maybe he could escape alive. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of rolling water, like thousands of horses galloping, resounded between heaven and earth. The place where the waterfall was located was shrouded in mist, and there were several smooth big stones standing on the cliff of the waterfall. Lin Yuan struggled to control his body in the river to avoid hitting the big stones. Roar! At this time, Lin Yuan felt an overbearing flame behind his head. Lin Yuan didn't dare to be careless and quickly sank to the bottom of the river. Through the sparkling water, he saw that the majestic Jin Shi had jumped to the big stone on the cliff of the waterfall, and it opened its mouth to spit out a large amount of flame toward the bottom of the river. Suddenly, the river boiled, and Lin Yuan's whole body sank into the boiling water. His scales instantly turned up, and he estimated that he would be cooked in less than a quarter of an hour. At this moment, he made up his mind and didn't think about anything else. With the cold stone grass in his mouth, he planned to rush to the edge of the waterfall covered by the flame. With the river blocking, the flame itself wasn't very powerful. At most, it would burn his scales, but it would definitely not be fatal. Just as Lin Yuan was about to rush over directly, a loud vibration suddenly came from the bottom of the river, and the whole riverbed suddenly rose up as if it was picked up by a big hand. The turbulent water flow and the violent impact force made Lin Yuan dizzy, and he almost fainted directly. Coupled with the boiling river water, his whole body suddenly became miserable. The scales on the surface of his body burst open, and the surface of his skin and flesh had been scalded. His whole body swelled up, and he looked very miserable. The suddenly raised riverbed lifted Lin Yuan, and his huge body was thrown out of the river and flew several feet. The Jin Shi saw the opportunity and directly rushed over, slapping Lin Yuan with his claws and pushing him to the shore. At this moment, Lin Yuan made up his mind and directly spat out the cold stone grass in his mouth toward Lin Xiang's position. This was the only way he could think of to get out of the Jin Shi's hands. Sure enough, the Jin Shi roared when he saw this scene. He didn't entangle with Lin Yuan, but his claws turned abruptly in midair and chased after the cold stone grass in the air. Wu! Lin Xiang let out a long hiss, suddenly swung his trunk, raised his forelimbs, and suddenly stomped. Several slender, smooth, and sharp stone spears shot out from the ground and attacked the Jin Shi. Lin Yuan, who crashed to the shore, was horrified when he saw this terrible blow. If he were to face these stone spears, he would probably be turned into a barbecue skewer in an instant. Chapter 22. Lin Yuan really saw the horror of a level 5 monster beast, and the despair in his heart deepened. Roar! On the other side, the golden lion, who was in the air and could not borrow any force, was facing Lin Xiang's almost fatal blow. With a roar, it was too late to change its position, so it could only choose to spit out flames to shake Lin Xiang. However, the golden lion's strength seemed to be weaker than Lin Xiang's. The flame flow did not work well against the stone spears. It burned a few of them, and the golden lion managed to dodge a few of them. However, there were still 2 stone spears that pierced into the golden lion's shoulders, causing it to roar furiously. This was the first time that the two terrifying level 5 monster beasts had been injured. Previously, the fight was lukewarm. In fact, both sides still had a game mentality. At this time, the golden lion exposed its primitive bestial nature. Covered in flames, it roared and rushed to Lin Xiang after being injured. Lin Yuan fell to the ground. There was no intact scale on his body. At first glance, he did not look like a living creature. However, he still relied on his tenacious will to survive and struggled strongly. He moved his body little by little, intending to leave this place to avoid the fight between the two level 5 monster beasts affecting him. The battle between the Golden Lion and Lin Xiang was within 500 meters of Lin Yuan. The two sides fought back and forth. Because they were close to the river, the Golden Lion's flame power seemed to be limited, but Lin Xiang did not have the slightest scruple. Therefore, by sensing its breath, Lin Yuan could tell that Lin Xiang had temporarily gained the upper hand. It created a cage made of stone spears to wrap the cold stone grass and prevent the Golden Lion from approaching. The red moon in the sky had set in the west, and the dark sky began to faintly turn white from the east. However, the Golden Lion's state was becoming more and more unstable. Obviously, the long battle had affected its rationality. If it was still late at night, it might have been directly affected by the red moon. Lin Yuan could only escape into the river at this moment. He could only escape from the two level 5 monster beasts by going downstream and entering the waterfall. Although he was very unwilling to lose the cold stone grass, there was no other way now. Even if the mission failed, he could not recover from the downgrade of his skills. However, as long as the system was here, Lin Yuan felt that he would not be in a hopeless situation. First of all, it was more realistic to survive. However, due to his previous injuries, his skin had completely festered. The power of the flames had invaded his body, causing his movements to be so slow that they were almost stagnant. The distance between him and the riverbank was a distance that could be crossed in the blink of an eye before, but now it was so far away that it was like the border between life and death. The battle between Lin Xiang and the Golden Lion over the cold stone grass gradually became white-hot. The number of stone spears and flame bursts gradually decreased. In the end, the battle between the demon beasts returned to the most primitive form of tussle. The Golden Lion had sharp teeth and claws. It had the innate advantage of being a predator. At the same level, its strength and speed were not much weaker than Lin Xiang's. Although Lin Xiang had 4 sturdy fangs and a huge body, once he lost the most powerful force in his hands, he would lose the means to win against the Golden Lion. After such a change, the power between Jin Shi and Lin Xiang once again reached a balance, and the balance of the battle began to tilt in Jin Shi's favor. Lin Yuan, who was slowly approaching the riverbank, suddenly had a thought from the bottom of his heart: Lin Xiang will win. Its body was larger, and its endurance was obviously better than the Golden Lion's. According to the current intensity of the battle, the winner and loser between the two would be decided by sunrise. However, even if the Golden Lion lost, it would still have the strength to escape. With such an idea, Lin Yuan had a new understanding of the Class 5 demon beasts. It seemed that he had stepped onto another platform. In this dangerous mountain forest, he had the fundamental strength to stand firm and would not easily die. At this moment, Lin Yuan's idea of being promoted to a Class 5 demon beast came so suddenly that a trace of regret gradually appeared in his heart. If he had known this would be the result, perhaps he would have directly given up on the cold stone grass and run away when he first discovered Lin Xiang and the Golden Lion's plan. That way, he would not have ended up in such a miserable state. Although he thought so, Lin Yuan's movements did not slow down at all. He slowly but firmly climbed towards the riverbank. At this moment, the battle between Lin Xiang and the Golden Lion was gradually becoming white-hot. Neither of them had the mind or the ability to deal with Lin Yuan, who was almost vulnerable. If he was still a human, he would not have been able to react in such a situation. It would be good if he could still maintain his consciousness. However, as a beast, Lin Yuan could still move forward in such a situation. After a night of running and fighting, Lin Yuan struggled for nearly an hour when he was 500 meters away from the riverbank. He wanted to fall asleep, but he knew that he absolutely could not close his eyes so easily. Because once he closed them, he might never be able to open them again. Finally, a ray of sunlight broke through the clouds in the eastern sky, leaping over the mountains and illuminating the world. At this moment, Lin Yuan finally touched the river. Relying on the last of his strength, he lost control of his body and slid into the river, allowing the torrent to carry him forward. The crashing sound of the waterfall was soul-shaking and deafening. I wonder if I can survive falling from the waterfall? Lin Yuan had such worries and doubts in his heart, but at this moment he had no other choice. If he stayed in the same place, it would be a dead end. Not to mention the threat of Lin Xiang and the Golden Lion. Last night, during the blood moon, violent demon beasts ran rampant everywhere. Even at dawn, the jungle was still more dangerous than usual. With Lin Yuan's current situation, even a level 1 demon beast could easily take his life. If that happened, it would be like delivering a human head to him. Just as he fell into the river and his consciousness was blurred, Lin Yuan suddenly heard the Golden Lion's unwilling roar and Lin Xiang's long hiss, which seemed to be declaring victory. Then came the sound of the system, ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission, Mutated Blood Moon. You have gained a total of 17 mission points. Mission completion evaluation is in progress, ding. Mission evaluation completed. Mission completion level B. You have gained 3 attribute points and an item, Qin Yu. Shua. Lin Yuan suddenly opened his eyes and found that he was rapidly falling down the waterfall. However, at this time, the surrounding time seemed to have stopped for him. Lin Yuan opened his eyes and did not think much. He did not even have time to rejoice or be excited. He just instinctively divided the 3 attribute points into attack, speed, and defense. Almost at the same time, Lin Yuan's attributes finally received a qualitative change, host. Lin Yuan status, Big Black Snake, Evolvable, Realm. 5 out of 10 talent. 1. Identify the enemy's position by smell. 2. Form an accurate image of the body within 500 meters by smell. Speed, 6 defense, 6 attack, 6 allocable points, 0 martial arts, golden body secret skill, strangle skill, poison enhancement mission, battle for the nest, mission stage 1, territory uniqueness temporary mission, grass in the mouth, mission countdown, 30 minutes. Special mission, greedy heart. Chapter 23. With the addition of the 3 attribute points, Lin Yuan finally met the requirements for promotion and instantly transformed into a level 5 monster beast. At this moment, the wounds on his body began to heal rapidly. Lin Yuan felt that there were countless magical forces in the water merging into his body and becoming a part of him. The violent water flow and the falling waterfall seemed to have become lighter at this moment. He gradually controlled his body in the waterfall and finally stopped in the middle of the violent waterfall. Lin Yuan's body once again expanded. The burned muscles on the surface of his body quickly dried up. Finally, Lin Yuan broke free from it and shed a complete huge snake skin. At this time, his body had officially broken through 6 feet. His body had become thicker and his whole body was covered with beautiful dark scales with a metallic luster. At the same time, a green light flashed 7 inches behind his neck and a cluster of thin green feathers grew there. Compared to Lin Yuan's huge body, which was close to 20 meters, this cluster of green feathers should be inconspicuous. However, it could be noticed at first glance. Roar! Lin Yuan opened his mouth and roared. This was not something that ordinary snakes could do. However, at this moment, Lin Yuan had been promoted to a level 5 monster beast and stepped onto a whole new level. Ding! Congratulations to host for successfully promoting to a level 5 monster beast. You have obtained the talent of water control. Talent, water control. After continuous efforts and promotion, you have finally transcended the category of ordinary creatures. Your body has awakened in unusual power. From now on, you can control the flow of water. As you become stronger, the power of water control will also become stronger. Talent effect. You can freely control the movement and breathing of water under the water. You can control the flow of water within a range of 500 meters. In the absence of water, your strength will be limited. When underwater, all attributes will be increased by 1. It had to be said that this was a very powerful talent. Lin Yuan was overjoyed. His snake face was full of a natural human smile. At level 5, even an ordinary monster beast would start to get rid of the instincts of a beast and gain rationality. Lin Xiang could control the earth and the golden lion could control the flames. At this moment, he had obtained the ability to control the flow of water. This meant that he had officially stepped onto the level of a powerhouse. Looking at the mission countdown of the grass in his mouth, Lin Yuan did not have time to check the cluster of light feathers behind his head. He directly went against the flow of the waterfall and returned to the previous battlefield in the blink of an eye. At this time, the battle between the Golden Lion and Lin Xiang had already come to an end. The Golden Lion ran away in a sorry state. There were several broken stone spears stuck in his body. His beautiful mane was messy and covered with blood. His body also looked weak. On the other side, Lin Xiang seemed to be in a good state. However, one of its 4 long fangs was broken. The broken part was in a charred state. Obviously, it was burned by the Golden Lion's flames. It was also blind in one eye. The hideous claw marks on its cheek made Lin Xiang look even more ferocious. At this moment, it was taking heavy steps towards the cold stone grass that had been trapped by Lin Xiang's stone spear cage since the beginning of the battle. At this moment, it had been almost 24 hours since the harvest time. Lin Yuan had to take back the cold stone grass before the time was up and kill Lin Xiang and the Golden Lion. Otherwise, even if he took back the cold stone grass in the end, if the time was over or the cold stone grass was eaten by Lin Xiang, he was afraid that he would not be able to complete the mission and would be punished. Boom! With all attributes increased by 1 in the water, his speed increased by 7 points. In the blink of an eye, he caught up with the escaping Golden Lion along the river. There were fewer trees along the riverbank and the terrain was slightly more open. Originally, the Golden Lion had no problem escaping along the riverbank. Of course, the premise was that it was only facing Lin Xiang. Now that it was facing Lin Yuan, it naturally had no way to escape. The waves rolled up and a 6-foot-long giant snake crossed the river and soared into the sky, bringing with it a water tornado. Several water spears were shot towards the Golden Lion. This change was too fast, and the Golden Lion's attention was focused on Lin Xiang when it was escaping. In the face of this sudden attack, it seemed that it could not react in time. Puff, puff, puff. The water spears were slightly weaker than Lin Xiang's stone spears, but at this time, it was enough to penetrate the Golden Lion's muscles and bones, opening 3 big bloody holes in his body. At the same time, Lin Yuan, who was wrapped in the waves, had rushed to the shore. The water tornado directly wrapped around the Golden Lion. Lin Yuan took advantage of the situation and entangled the Golden Lion. At the same time, he opened his mouth and bit the Golden Lion's nose. The Golden Lion's mane was lush, making it difficult to bite. The nose was soft and defenseless, so Lin Yuan bit down almost without thinking. After being promoted to a rank 5 monster beast, the 6 points of attack were doubled under the effect of strangle. The Golden Lion, who seemed incomparably powerful in front of Lin Yuan before, could not resist at all. At the same time, Lin Yuan also injected venom into the Golden Lion's nose. Then he ignored the Golden Lion and jumped back into the river, swimming quickly towards Lin Xiang. Woo! Contrary to Lin Yuan's expectations, the huge Lin Xiang directly threw away the cold stone grass and ran towards the depths of the jungle. Before leaving, it fiercely stomped its front foot, and a violent force gushed out from its foot, sweeping across both sides of the long river. Even the vast power of the waterfall seemed to be restrained for a moment. This force finally erupted around the cold stone grass. This Lin Xiang actually wanted to destroy the cold stone grass. Lin Yuan did not care about chasing after it. He used his speed to crazily approach the cold stone grass. Enduring the vibrations and the shooting gravel, he caught the fragile strange plant in the middle of the rubble and resisted all the damage. But at this moment, with his 7 points of defense, he was able to easily deal with this kind of fatal attack. The shooting gravel could not even break his scales. When everything calmed down, Lin Yuan steadily landed on the shore. Lin Xiang had already gone far away. Although this guy's body was huge, but when it really ran, its speed was not slow. After this night, Lin Yuan had too many things to digest. At this time, he did not have the time nor the mind to chase after it. In another direction, the golden lion, who had run not far away, finally lost its strength and fell to the ground. Dark blood oozed out of its mouth and nose. It had already died from the poison. The sun in the east completely leaped out of the mountains, and the golden light shone down, making the river around him sparkling. The morning fog rising from the waterfall finally dispersed. Lin Yuan stood on the cliff of the waterfall with a small flower in his mouth, and the blue fluffy feathers on his neck fluttered, making him look extremely handsome. As the golden lion fell, the system timely sounded. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing the level 5 monster golden lion. You have gained 1 attribute point. The reward for the first kill of a level 5 monster has been activated. You have gained a chance to draw a skill. Ding! Congratulations to the host. Within a radius of 500 li, there is no monster above level 3 that dares to be your enemy. The first stage of the battle for the nest is completed. Calculating. Chapter 24. Listening to the system's voice, Lin Yuan was slightly surprised. He did not think that the nesting mission would be completed like this. He was still thinking about how to achieve the goal. In such a dangerous situation, with the missions coming one after another, he almost forgot about this mission. He did not think that it would be completed in such a way. It really caught him off guard. This was also an unexpected surprise. After the blood moon last night and the battle with the cold stone grass, even the 2 level 5 demonic beasts and most of the level 4 demonic beasts in the vicinity had been defeated by Lin Yuan, let alone the level 3 demonic beasts. Most of them were affected by the blood moon. Ding! Mission calculation complete. Mission reward, 2 attribute points and 1 chance to set up a nest. After the nest is opened, all attributes will be increased by 1 when you are within 500 miles of the nest. Ding! The second phase of the battle for the nest mission, Name of the Mountain Lord, has been activated. You have finally stood out from many opponents and successfully established a nest. However, the newly established nest will attract competition. You can only complete this mission after successfully repelling 3 waves of level 5 and above monsters. Lin Yuan exhaled and continued to digest the gains he had previously obtained. First, he looked at the item he had previously obtained, the light feather, which was the cluster of blue velvet feathers that was now growing at 7 inches on his neck. Item light feather, level 1 accessory. Speed +1. Additional skill, light feather wind. Skill, light feather wind. When you fall from a high place, you can glide for a short time. Lin Yuan was overjoyed. He carefully looked at the tuft of blue feathers on his neck under the reflection of the river. He really liked it. The ability to glide from a high place is really useful. With this skill, Lin Yuan's mobility has been greatly improved again in the complex mountains and forests. After looking at this item, Lin Yuan drew the skill he had obtained from completing the Blood Moon mission. It was the same feeling as last time, and it was the same routine as last time. After the skill was drawn, 3 perceptual lights appeared in Lin Yuan's mind. Tail strike skill. Your body is now extremely large, and even the smallest movement has terrifying power. When you use your full strength, it will bring about unspeakable destruction. After activating the skill, your next tail swing will have an additional true attack attribute, and will cause a shockwave that will cover a radius of 50 meters. Skill powerful digestion. As a cold-blooded snake, you have broken through the shackles and become a level 5 monster beast. You have obtained a certain warm-blooded characteristic and have grown a pair of sharp fangs. From now on, you no longer need to swallow your prey. This will greatly increase your hunting efficiency, but your digestive ability will also change, and the frequency of eating will also greatly increase. Skill, Eyes of Petrification. As a level 5 demonic beast, You have already obtained a powerful ability to control water flow. However, this is only the beginning. After obtaining this skill, any living thing that dares to look at you in the eye will be affected by this skill and have a certain chance of being petrified. These 3 skills could be said to be very powerful. Tail Strike could greatly increase Lin Yuan's attack power. After all, Strangle had too many restrictions, and the additional true attack attribute damage was even more incredible. The explanation given by the system was that it could break through all physical defenses. This way, even if Lin Yuan faced an opponent with an abnormal defense, he would still have the strength to fight. It would not be like a tiger swallowing the sky and having nowhere to bite. The powerful digestion brought about a fundamental change. Lin Yuan was essentially a cold-blooded animal. Every time he hunted, he would have a bad feeling. The feeling of having to swallow prey was really not good, and the problem of his body temperature rising was also very uncomfortable. Although it will bring about an increase in the frequency of eating, it is not a problem. On the contrary, it is better to say that Lin Yuan is more accustomed to this feeling. Even after crossing over, human living habits still remain, and the feeling of not being hungry for a few months still makes him feel uneasy. As for the Eyes of Petrification, it was undoubtedly the skill that Lin Yuan wanted the most out of the 3. The first thing he thought of was the legendary Lamia Medusa. It seemed that all powerful snake-type monsters had similar abilities. However, the explanation given by the system also made him feel a little uncomfortable. The probability of the Eyes of Petrification was very vague. With his current strength, he could at most petrify a level 3 monster. A level 4 monster would have to depend on his luck, and a level 5 monster was even more out of the question. At most, it would cause a certain impact on the opponent. In a battle against an opponent of the same level, the improvement advantage was not as great as Tail Strike. After careful consideration, Lin Yuan really could not weigh the pros and cons. In the end, he had to use the method of elimination. First of all, the powerful digestion only brought about some changes in habits. It did not increase his combat power. Lin Yuan had venom to strengthen him, so he did not need to rely on his sharp teeth to bite anyone. Therefore, this skill was first eliminated. Among the remaining 2 skills, the Eyes of Petrification looked very pretentious and powerful, but it also had many restrictions. It could only be used to abuse noobs and had little practical significance. Chapter 25. With such a result, Lin Yuan did not hesitate and evenly distributed the 3 attribute points. Immediately, all of his attributes reached 7 points, and he was officially promoted to a level 6 monster beast. In fact, not even an hour had passed since he was promoted to a level 5 monster beast. Such a huge improvement made Lin Yuan almost laugh to the sky. Unfortunately, he was now only a python and did not have the ability to laugh. Not only that, but if he relied on the water manipulation to increase all of his attributes in the water and the nest, Lin Yuan's peak strength would even reach 27 points, which was equivalent to a level 7 monster beast. Looking at such a result, Lin Yuan was a little scared. In just a short 24 hours, with the help of a bunch of stupid missions, he actually rose to such a terrifying level in one breath. Lin Yuan was a little scared himself. Fortunately, he was not killed by these stupid missions, so Lin Yuan's heart was more excited at this moment. Putting aside these messy thoughts, Lin Yuan's top priority was to quickly find a place to set up his nest. In this way, his own strength could be improved, and in this chaotic and dangerous forest, he would have a little more ability to protect himself. Before, Lin Yuan was still thinking about where to set up his nest. To be honest, he preferred a mountain peak with a wide view, or choose a cliff. But now, with the bonus of the water manipulation talent and the nest territory, Lin Yuan knew that only by setting up his nest near a water source could he let the nest and talent overlap, allowing him to obtain the greatest benefits. Then here, Lin Yuan pondered, looking at the big waterfall formed by the intersection of the 3 rivers. At this time, the sun had already reached the middle of the day, and the water mist on the river due to the waterfall had dissipated. Lin Yuan also looked at the system's harvest and attributes, and he was almost stunned. The big waterfall in front of him was hundreds of feet high, and behind him was a vast forest. Looking out, in the distance, there were endless mountains, and under the waterfall, there was a wide lake. The surface of the lake was as flat as a mirror. From Lin Yuan's point of view, the lake was like a crystal embedded in the forest. With a thought, Lin Yuan jumped into the river and followed the waterfall. The 1,000-meter-long waterfall carried the ferocious force of 10,000 galloping horses. Lin Yuan had no doubt that even the huge Lin Yuan would be swept away by it. If he fell, he would be smashed into a meat patty. He couldn't help but feel a lingering fear. Previously, he had wanted to rely on the waterfall to escape, but that was just wishful thinking. If he had really fallen, he was afraid that he wouldn't even be able to find a single scale. Fortunately, he had directly advanced in the waterfall and obtained the ability to control water. Therefore, he was able to move freely in this violent waterfall. Lin Yuan recalled the state he was in when he was promoted to a level 5 demonic beast. He felt that his ability to control water might have something to do with this big waterfall, because when he was promoted, there was a lot of overflowing spirit chi and earth chi that merged into his body. Thinking like this, Lin Yuan suddenly had a wonderful feeling. There seemed to be a vague connection between him and this big waterfall. Lin Yuan's current body size was more than 6 feet, which was 18 meters. Speaking of it, he was close to 20 meters tall. However, in this huge waterfall that was tens of miles wide and thousands of meters high, he still seemed small. Waterfall, Lin Yuan pondered. In such an environment, unless it was a demonic beast that had the same ability to control water as him, it would be impossible to even enter the waterfall in front of the mighty force of nature. It's really a natural treasure land. Lin Yuan sighed in his heart. He couldn't help but think of Sun Wukong in the journey to the west in his previous life, flower fruit mountain blessed land, water curtain cave. Suddenly, he quivered and planned to directly place his nest in this big waterfall. Lin Yuan swam in the waterfall and finally saw a huge rock across the big waterfall. Its location was on the upper left side of the big waterfall. Lin Yuan coiled around the huge rock, overlooking the whole lake. The surrounding scenery of hundreds of miles was panoramic. He had a feeling that the world was in his hands. Of course, he didn't have hands right now. No longer hesitating, Lin Yuan directly placed his nest. Suddenly, the whole waterfall seemed to be triggered. The huge rock that Lin Yuan coiled around shook and lifted up. The long river surged, and even the big lake surged with waves. The strange phenomenon caused the surrounding hundreds of miles. All kinds of beasts roared in the forest. Countless eyes, whether bright or dark, strong or weak, were attracted and looked in the direction of the big waterfall. Boom! The big waterfall stopped shaking. Behind the huge rock, a wide platform protruded into the depths of the mountain. The platform was located at the entrance of the wind. Wisps of wind carried water vapor and lingered, condensing and not dispersing. The rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth was attracted. At a certain moment, something in the air seemed to have been attracted, and it directly took root in the eye of the storm. Slender green vines spread out, and a strange snow-white flower grew. Accompanied by green leaves, the whole platform was full of vitality. Ding! Congratulations to the host for activating the nest. The second stage of the battle for the nest mission, the name of the mountain lord, has officially begun. Ding! Congratulations to the host, Nest Evaluation A System Notification. You've really hit the jackpot. Ding! Congratulations to the host for discovering a green leaf water lotus seedling. The green leaf water lotus seedling lingers between heaven and earth all year round, moving with the wind and falling with the water. Your nest attracted such a divine herb as soon as it was completed. It can be seen that your luck is very strong. What's going on with this system? Lin Yuan was ecstatic and at the same time a little dissatisfied. He didn't know if the system had done some maintenance when he wasn't aware, but its mouth was so smelly. In comparison, Lin Yuan suddenly felt that the system's previous cold attitude was very good. Ding! The system didn't stop and continued to give out notifications. However, this time the notifications were related to the green leaf water lotus. Lin Yuan couldn't help but put away his unhappy attitude and carefully looked at it. Green leaf water lotus, a saint-grade flower. It takes 1,000 years to germinate, 1,000 years to bloom, and 1,000 years to mature. If a mortal consumes it, they will have a lifespan of 10,000 years and have the opportunity to ascend. Its growth will turn into a natural paradise, and the spiritual energy will multiply. The system's notifications were mysterious and unclear, but there were also detailed notes. Lin Yuan looked at it carefully. Simply put, if this green leaf water lotus matured, even if it was an ordinary beast or human that consumed it, they would have the possibility of directly ascending. However, a full 3,000 years to mature was not a joke. Lin Yuan felt that this flower was enough to send him away. There was also a so-called natural paradise. Under the system's refinement, the most direct effect was that every 10 years, it would directly produce 1 attribute point for him. Chapter 26. Lin Yuan's expression instantly became strange. The green leaf lotus was a wholly rare flower. It had just taken root and still had 3,000 years to grow. Even if he could survive 3,000 years, when the flower bloomed, there would definitely be a phenomenon. He reckoned that he would attract countless big shots to fight over it. Whether he could keep the mature green leaf lotus was still a question. He thought that even if he couldn't eat the meat, he could at least drink the soup. It didn't seem too good. 1 attribute point every 10 years. If he wanted to rely on it to accumulate enough attribute points to reach level 7, he would need a full 60 years. No wonder the system's attitude suddenly changed. This green leaf lotus taking root in his nest wasn't an opportunity at all. It was downright troublesome. Not to mention the system's foul mouth, even Lin Yuan himself wanted to become Zhu En's top scholar in the liberal arts at this moment. Woo! A familiar long hiss suddenly sounded. The snake's forked tongue came out of its mouth, and the scene within a radius of 500 meters was imprinted in its mind. The Lin Xiang that had escaped earlier actually turned back once again. However, there was no longer any clarity in its eyes. All that was left was an extremely ruthless scarlet color. Its body emitted a vicious aura that desired to tear everything apart. The snake's forked tongue flickered. Lin Yuan's eyes flashed with a touch of complicated obscurity. The Lin Xiang was definitely one of the best among level 5 monsters, and its intelligence was obviously not low. However, after the golden lion caused it heavy injuries and Lin Yuan took away the cold stone grass, its heart was filled with anger and unwillingness. In the end, it couldn't escape the corrosion of the remaining power of the blood moon and turned into a monster that only knew how to kill. In a situation where it had already escaped, it actually turned back and tried to attack Lin Yuan once again. It was terrifying to think about. Lin Yuan only felt a chill pass through his body. If the cold stone grass hadn't fallen into his hands, would he have ended up like the Lin Xiang now? This was the real jungle. The law of the jungle was the only law. The loser had only one road, death. But it's fine. Lin Yuan's forked tongue flickered, hiding the cold stone grass in the depths of its nest. It wriggled its snake body and swept out from the stone platform. Its green feathers lit up with a green glow. Light feather wind was instantly activated. Lin Yuan glided out, heading straight for the Lin Xiang. Greedy Heart's mission was not completed yet. It was good that the forest elephant had delivered itself to their doorstep. They did not have to search for it slowly in the forest. Lin Yuan paddled across the water at an extremely fast speed. The effect of the 9 points of speed attribute was that Lin Yuan had already appeared in front of Lin Xiang before Lin Xiang could even react. Lin Xiang only managed to retaliate when he opened his mouth to bite Lin Yuan's head. His elephant trunk, which was also as thick as a bowl, lashed out like a long whip, smashing towards Lin Yuan's head. Tail attack. Just as the elephant trunk was about to hit Lin Yuan's snake head, Lin Yuan's vertical pupils flashed with a cold light, and he immediately used his skill. With all his attributes, his strength was comparable to a level 7 demonic beast. Naturally, he would not care about the attack of a level 5 demonic beast. However, he instinctively did not want to use his head to hit the elephant trunk, just like how no one would want to be hit on the head. This was an instinctive reaction. The moment the tail attack was used, Lin Yuan suddenly felt his snake body stiffen. A strange energy surged out, instantly adjusting his snake body that was unable to move in midair. The snake tail was like a black steel whip, and its speed was 3 times faster than his flying attack. Woo! The snake tail collided with the elephant trunk. Lin Yuan immediately let out a miserable cry. 9 points of agility and 1 point of true damage. In just a moment of contact, the elephant trunk was directly broken by Lin Yuan's snake tail. The remaining part of Lin Xiang's body was also badly mutilated. This was not all. A terrifying shockwave followed, and within a radius of 50 meters, the ground cracked. Countless rocks and soil flew in all directions. Even the extremely tenacious weeds and trees were uprooted and scattered in all directions. Amazing! Lin Yuan glanced at Lin Xiang's miserable appearance and immediately licked the system in his heart. The last skill, Venom Enhancement, was a poison that could kill demonic beasts of the same level. This time, the strength of the tail attack could be said to be unparalleled. It also had the effect of adjusting the body. If used well, it would definitely be a strange move. The system's products must be the best. While you're sick, I'll take your life. Lin Yuan's heart steeled, and his speed increased again. He directly rushed to the side of Lin Xiang's head, opened his mouth, and fiercely bit Lin Xiang's neck. The colorless and odorless snake venom was instantly injected into Lin Xiang's blood. Ding! Congratulations to host for killing level 5 demonic beast Lin Xiang. 5 attribute points gained. Ding! Congratulations to host for killing all the hunters while keeping the cold stone grass. Special mission, Greedy Heart, completed. Mission reward, 3 attribute points, 1 chance to draw a skill. When the venom spread in Lin Xiang's body, the system prompt instantly sounded. With this period of familiarity, Lin Yuan had already seen through the system's routine. With the system prompt, he could now obtain 1 attribute point by killing demonic beasts of the same level. If he killed demonic beasts of a lower level, he could only obtain 5 attribute points. If he bullied demonic beasts of a lower level, he might not be able to obtain any attribute points. System, Lin Yuan's eyes lit up. The attribute points that host can store cannot exceed the amount needed to level up, and the host cannot add more than 1 level. The wise system seemed to have already seen through everything. Lin Yuan just started to speak, and it directly gave the answer. Lin Yuan shook his snake head a little discouraged. He still wanted to use the system's loophole to stay at the current level, and rely on the attribute bonus to madly hunt demonic beasts of the same level as himself to achieve the goal of quickly increasing his strength. But the system obviously would not let him use this loophole. Currently, he was a level 6 demonic beast, and could only store an additional 6 attribute points. All his attribute points could not exceed 9 points. He could not achieve a level 6 demonic beast having the attribute points of a level 8 demonic beast. That's not right. He could use it. Lin Yuan's attribute points were all 21. He was still 6 attribute points away from becoming a level 7 demonic beast. He could completely increase 2 of his 3 attribute points to 9, and 1 to 8. Then, he could use this small loophole to store another 6 attribute points, and directly establish himself as invincible among demonic beasts of the same level. I'm really AF** King Genius. Lin Yuan's heart was bursting with joy. The wave of indignation from the green leaf water lotus had also dissipated by quite a bit. It was a pity that the Blood Moon mission had already been completed. This Lin Xiang did not bring him any Blood Moon mission points reward. The level B light feather wind already gave him the heaven-defying ability to fly for a short period of time. If he could obtain the level A or even the level S reward, Lin Yuan's saliva immediately flowed down. The rewards from a series of fraudulent missions were indeed considerable. That's not right. Lin Yuan suddenly became alert. Among the fraudulent missions that were triggered yesterday, there was still a crucial mission that had not been completed. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.